and welcome to episode 196 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, for everyone always, the man, the myth, the ghost face, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al, from the piano bar.
What about my ending?
No. We'll get there. On this week's episode, we're light on the variance of topics, but one of them will be a lot. So we have Better Call Saul's return and Star Wars Celebration, something near and dear to the hearts of Flix and the Six. All before diving into our flick of the week, Scream. No, not that one. But first, Al, what's on tap?
I thought you were going to ask me where I am because
I am curious.
The Flix and a Six World Tour continues as I am recording from now my third separate location, and since our return from the hiatus could have been our fourth, but due to a last-minute technical difficulty, we had to bail off when I was going to do an episode from friend of the podcast Brian's house while I was house sitting for them. But this week I am house sitting for my sister's boyfriend's parents. And so I am currently sitting in my sister's boyfriend's father's office.
Cool.
And recording.
Is he a piano man?
No, but he does have a piano behind his workstation.
It's just a statement piece?
No, I mean, he may well play. I don't know. I don't know him that well. I've only met him a few times.
Does he play piano? No.
Okay. Well, that was the thing from I Love You Man, right? Jon Favreau. Oh, do you play? No.
No. I just saw that you had a piano. I don't play the piano.
Yeah. So some of you may find this odd that I am sitting in his office shirtless recording.
Sure.
I've only met him a handful of times, but here we are.
I hope they have cameras.
I hope they don't.
Yeah, that's a pretty good thing, right?
Yeah, sure. So the plus side is there's a couple of monitors just past the computer here. Neither of them has a camera on it, so that's good.
That's good.
What
about that one that's inside of the fold of the piano?
It's entirely possible, although weirdly they encouraged me to throw a party while they were gone and stuff like that. And I was like, that's weird. They're like,
this feels like a trap.
110% feels like a trap. They were also like, hey, why don't you drink all of our alcohol downstairs? I said, okay, well, I might kind of take you up on that offer. They're like, we even have a keg at the bar. It's on, drink whatever you want from it. I said, okay,
get down.
Attention now.
Flix and a Six.
But yeah, no, I am in yet another location. The irony, of course, being that the location I am in is only a few hundred feet from the location I normally record because they live 8 houses away from where I live.
Oh, that's really fun. I had no idea they were that close. That's funny. That's pretty great. Cool. Well, are you going to play us a tune?
Not well, certainly.
I like how I ask you that, yet I'm the one that has a keyboard next to me at all times.
And actually knows how to play it.
It's what we do here.
So anyway, what are we drinking?
Yeah, what are we drinking?
Mark it? You want to mark the time? Or?
I actually do, because I wrote it down before, which is not the time that we started the beer.
Okay. I know you got it last week, but I know for several weeks in a row before that, every single episode you're like, fuck, I forgot again.
One of these days I'll actually edit the episode from last week.
Oh, so now I don't feel so bad about the fact that I only wrote the synopsis an hour ago.
Yeah, I mean, you were really holding me up.
Yeah, I figured considering you didn't ask me for it, but...
There's something floating in this.
Did you hear that thunder through my microphone?
I wasn't certain. I thought it was on my side.
Oh, it could be.
Oh, okay.
But considering...
That's it. That's all there is.
Yeah, anyway, so we're drinking Is this the second? Yeah, second now, I think?
I think it's the third.
Canyon? Or maybe it's the third. Third Grand Canyon Brewing?
We did that prickly pear jam, and then I feel like we did something else that was
Kachina. We did
Kachina. Made with bits of real Kachina.
Exactly. So we're drinking our third Grand Canyon beer. This is the Black Iron India Pale Ale. Once again, it extols the virtue of living curiously and living adventurously. There is a giant black iron steam engine on some tracks that graces this can. And on the side it says, 1901 was the year the Grand Canyon Railway took its first passengers from Williams, Arizona to the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Originally, these black iron steam engines were used for mining operations, now millions of people see the natural beauty of the Grand Canyon aboard the Williams train. This brew is our tribute to the black iron that paved the way to the Grand Canyon. This IPA uses battle-tested hop varieties and a solid malt foundation for a truly balanced beer. 6.3% alcohol by volume, 65 IBUs. Yes,
what is a battle-tested hop?
I was thrown by that as well, and immediately I was picturing a bunch of hops wearing like World War II style military helmets in a foxhole, getting together like with their rifles up as they were trying to like plan their next move in the middle of a firefight.
I was picturing a bunch of scientists and then like a quick cut to that scene where the nuke goes off all the way in the background, and then the cut back to the scientists and they just thumbs up.
Yeah, no, I'm
the hops are good.
I'm picturing like you remember the scene in Saving Private Ryan when they try to take the gun nest and they all huddle together and figure out who's going to go left and who's going to go right and who's going to have Overwatch and which order they're going to advance. I'm picturing that, but it's hops. They're anthropomorphic. They have the same gear. Like, do you remember I know you're not a big South Park guy, but you ever seen like the member berries from several seasons ago?
No.
They look like little grapes and they had faces and they the whole thing was that they were making fun of like nostalgia and how it can be kind of cancerous to the person who is remembering a thing fondly because like they, it was around the whole thing with like the toxic Star Wars response and all that stuff. More on that later in this movie. But I'm picturing those member berries, but hops and gathered around trying to take a gun nest.
I can totally see the anthropomorphic hop. If I've got the visual, it's perfect.
Also, can you put that down in your notes to call me that?
Anthropomorphic hop. I like that. But I was actually thinking that exact thing too, right? The hop, but not that scene. When you said Saving Private Ryan, I pictured the hop, but like at the D-Day scene,
and it's like walking around
with like one of its
cluster of leaves.
Yeah, like that is the scene that gets me every time in Sausage Party, where the Oreo picks up his other half. It's so good.
It is a tremendous homage.
The anthropomorphic hop. Let's see if I rarely go back to my notes, so we'll see if I remember to.
I know there's been about a 50% success rate of me asking you to.
Yeah, there's
something in the future.
I'm sure somewhere in these 196 files, there's probably some gold of things that I can call you because I always try to do it.
Well, I know for a while you had a running notepad of nicknames
I did.
to call me, so I assumed that you're still maintaining that.
I had that, but then I started shifting to trying to do something related to the movie.
Mm-hmm. Naturally,
for better or worse, but it definitely leaves a bit to be desired, I would say. Now, this giant chug-a-lug is still running and taking people to the Grand Canyon?
Is that what they were saying there? I don't know.
That's what I got out of it.
I only retained about half of what I read.
Paved the way. It said something about people see the natural beauty of the Grand Canyon aboard the Williams train.
Oh, yeah, it says now. So I guess it's... Oh, actually, you know what? I did see it. I saw this train when I was there last year.
Oh.
I did. Or at least I saw the train tracks where... I saw train cars. I don't think they were hooked up to the engine at that point. I think, though, that it was still in operation, though. I just didn't see the actual engine.
All right, I'm going to need you to help me out here.
Okay.
On the logo.
Yep.
First off, the T is a very ornamental T. It's got a whoosh.
Wait, which T? Where?
On their actual stamp logo on the bottom middle of the can. The above grand. The T has this gigantic loop at the top. It's beautiful. Anyway, it says the Grand Canyon Brewing Plus Distillery. I can't tell what is the Y. I feel like it's not a letter, but
you're right. It's not. Is that? And I have a weird glare going on here, and it's obviously so small. Is it just that it's faded?
I don't know. It almost looks like an anvil.
Or is it supposed to be... I'm wondering, if you look throughout all of the letters here, there's some weird things put on them that almost look like shadowing. I wonder if it's supposed to be worn. You know what I mean?
I could see that. Let me see if I can pull up the Grand Canyon Distill. And underneath that, what does it say? Is that handcrafted?
Yes.
All right.
It's too small. I did notice that T that you were talking about, but actually I thought it was like a hair or like a run in the thing. I didn't realize it was like a perfect flourish from the T.
It is absolutely a faded Y. So Nothing special there. Just thought.
Okay.
Okay.
It's cool though. It's got like
Well.
a solid like look to it, but
Gonna knock off a thuckle on that. But cheers, and let's give this a taste. Harsh.
that seemed unnecessarily harsh.
What do I have to do?
Hang on. Shh.
Oh, so nice, so delicate. Not the beer, to be clear. The clink. Got him.
The problem is I almost just spewed beer all over this work setup that is not mine.
Interesting.
I detect notes of fruit that I was not anticipating.
Yeah.
I was expected this beer to taste like Sam Elliott's voice sounds, like a little bit more rugged than this.
I think from now on you need to describe foods to me in celebrity voices. Live curiously, live adventurously.
He would be perfect. He'd be the perfect spokesman for this.
Oh man, this is pretty good. It's got a.
I definitely think it.
Is up front, but then it subsides really quickly.
Yeah, I definitely dig the beer. I was just surprised. Like I was expecting it to be a little bit more like straightforward, not generic, but like traditional as far as IPAs go. Just because considering like the whole situation, and I mean, like not that I think less of the brewery anyway. We did the prickly pear. It was good. It was fruity. It just didn't seem like it would be the thing that they would do for this specific beer.
Yeah,
the whole point was like respecting the tradition and the honor of this pioneering spirit and all that. From a certain time, I kind of expected the beer to reflect that and not have that level of fruitiness to it. But yeah. it's a good beer. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's very tasty. It's got the fruitiness is there, but it's like not overwhelming.
Is it like, I want to say it gives mango?
Maybe I was trying to figure that out myself. It's like super, whatever the fruit layer of it is like super smooth.
Mango or peach?
Maybe peach. I think peach.
Which is odd.
Nectarine.
Let's see. Let's see what hops get. Let's see what hops do that. Hops, not hopes. Hops that. Oh, hang on. The first note here was hops that smell like weed. We already know, we've long established that whole thing about the relationship between hops.
Right.
Below that, though, the next one, hops that taste like mango.
Okay.
Now, I don't want mango flavored hops.
Did it say what hops are in it? I don't remember.
It did not. It just said that they were battle tested.
They were battle. What do battle tested hops taste like?
They taste like what Tom Sizemore sounds like.
I love it.
I was trying to think of someone from that scene I was talking
about. You know what? I'm gonna go with peach. It tastes like biting into a peach with the skin on.
All right, so I see Summit hops. Some say tangerine, some say mango. Some of the hops you could use would be Columbus, Pearl, Chinook, Amarillo, and Centennial.
Apricot?
You'd know better than me. I haven't eaten an apricot in years.
I think I'm going to go apricot peach. That's what it
could be Citra. Like. Some people are referring to Citra on this forum.
It's not.
I agree. Citra tends to be more lemony, I think, right?
Yeah.
I know that was your thing for a long time. I don't know if it's still your...
I definitely...
a lot of people are saying Citra, though.
Citra piques my interest, but that's not...
I don't think this is Citra.
This is not... No, that's not what's in here.
Hang on, let's see if we can find out.
If it is, I would be very surprised.
Hops in black.
So investigative journalism.
I know.
I think you're going to have to get on the train.
I'm going on Untapped here. What do we see?
You're going to have to Hercule Poirot this shit. Tastes like Hercule Poirot's beard. No, mustache. Sorry.
I thought there was going to be something on here that was actually going to give me some sort of information. Find it. Beer advertisement. Oh, wait, no. Look, let's go to the source. There's the website with this specific beer. Chinook, Cascade, and Columbus. So
I feel like it's the Columbus.
3 of the 5 C's.
It's like one of the. It's like maybe where that that early bitterness is, but maybe because I've had other beers that have had that in it.
So I'll read. There's a little bit more on this one.
Okay.
A tribute to the black iron that paved the way to the Grand Canyon, this brew is well balanced with bitter and malty flavors accented by a sharp hop aroma. This hazy orange brew offers fruity orange notes, then peppery spiciness. It finishes with a robust bitterness. Quench your thirst on a hot summer day in Arizona with a cold and refreshing black iron. It's got American pale malt, English Maris Otter, which I like to use, and Chinook, Cascade, and Columbus.
Cool. Made with bits of real Chinook.
Yeah.
I dig it. How many Thuckles?
I guess that works if we're going to have battle-tested hops. Why not have one that's named for a helicopter in the U.S. military?
Sure.
I'm going to give this a solid 2 Thuckles.
2 Thuckles? I'm on board with that. A duet of Thuckles.
Dueling
dyad.
A dyad?
Speaking of dyads,
Star Wars.
I actually got I'm gonna fact check this real quick, but I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. You know how I said the other week that I started putting movies on while I'm cooking?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I finished all of the Pitch Perfects.
Yeah.
And I put on The Last Jedi, which, logical jump. And which, my God, I love that movie. But again, there's the guy that plays the Dreadnought captain in the beginning.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure
the guy entertained me despite the fact that he was a prick.
What'd you say?
I said that guy entertained me despite the fact that he was a total prick.
I'm pretty sure he was in the latest season of Outlander.
I never saw it, so
I'm trying to remember. I think I got Krugered by Outlander's Tom Christie, but I'm not sure. I was gonna look it up before the show, and I failed.
Meanwhile, I've been distracted this whole time since you said that because I've been trying to find out if there was a single member of the cast of The Last Jedi who was in any of the Pitch Perfect movies, which is a really tough exercise considering I've never seen the movies. I've been doing it based on it knowing in passing who's some of the people in those movies.
I feel like I'm kind of curious. I feel like there probably is.
There's so many people in The Last Jedi, and there's so many people in those 3 movies combined that you would think there would have to be someone, and yet I'm having trouble thinking of a single.
Okay, I was right. It is him. I was Krugered by Tom Christie. His name is Mark Lewis Jones.
If you say so.
And his character seems to be coming around. Anyway, Last Jedi, fantastic. Why don't tell me about all things Star Wars. Because I did not catch up on any of the news except for one minor thing, which was the teaser for
I found
game I'm very excited about.
I found a handy article on IGN called Star Wars Celebration 2022.
Thought you were going to say called, hold on, I got to watch 15 minutes of ads.
Nope. Called Star Wars Celebration 2022, everything announced. And it was a article that they updated throughout the weekend, and so I have a list of these things here. I'm going to have to jump a little bit back and forth because all of the things it has listed, some of them are like multiple blocks all on the same topic, so I'm going to do my best to not duplicate things as I scroll through. So I gave myself a little cheat sheet to work off of. So the first thing...
Look at you being hella prepared.
I did try for this. So the first thing we have is Andor. They released a trailer for Star Wars Andor the other day. That will premiere on August 31st, 2022. It's going to take place roughly 5 years prior to Rogue One. They have... First season will be 12 episodes. They're already working on, or about to be working on, the next 12 episodes. And the plan for the show is to lead up and basically hand off directly into Rogue One.
Oh, interesting. Like lead up to him running down that corridor.
Yeah, so I think it's basically going to be, they're going to, however many seasons they have planned with, maybe 3 or 4 or whatever, they're planning on it leading directly into Rogue One, closing that whole story together, and
that's pretty cool. Choice. I dig that. The trailer looks decent. I'm definitely interested. It's got some pretty cool, edgy vibes going on, especially with all the music and
which makes sense considering what that character is when we see him. We saw him for a very brief snapshot in time. I feel like the character got to have a pretty substantial arc in the small amount of time that he was on screen in that
I
movie.
agree. I agree. It'll probably. I hope that it plays into that the complexity of like what he has to deal with. Like he gets his hands dirty. Like rebellion is a kind of dirty business, and it's I don't know. I feel like the it's gonna be a show where I feel like if it's done right, he will constantly be doing things that make you upset, but you get it.
Yeah,
and
which that's the way that you make this sort of show compelling, right? Is following a character who is ultimately good, or is trying to do things for the right reasons. We'll say. Right. He is on the winning side, the right side, but watching him do the wrong things and making that complexity within it, where you're like, "Ooh, I don't like that you did that. I get why you did it, but I don't have to like that you did it."
Right.
And maybe we'll see him not quite so jaded and over the at the high point of this show, him get to the absolute lowest point of the things he's willing to do as he gets more and more desperate in his fight. Yeah. Knowing that on the back end, eventually he'll do the right things for the right reasons.
Yeah. Cool. And that's soon, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. Just a couple of months from now. So I was surprised to see it looks like Mon Mothma will be a heavy focus of the show as well, which I guess is probably smart to get to finally see some of the politicking and the intrigue that led to or was involved with the creation and management of the rebellion in those dark times.
Yeah. I am. It is interesting at this point, though, with everything going on. Like we'll get to Obi-Wan a little bit later with this show. We've got 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. We've got the Book of Boba Fett. Like, I am ready for us to dive into a different timeline. And I'm very much looking forward to it. They're not doing. I think this is great. I'm happy with what we've got right here. But I'm definitely like. I feel like I have enough of this moment in time that I'm looking forward to seeing something else.
It's tough because obviously there's so much turmoil in the 20-year stretch between the fall of the Republic and the consolidation of the Empire and the rise of the Rebellion. There's so many rich stories you can tell because there are so many things going on in so many corners of the galaxy, and it gives opportunities to see some old familiar faces and also have them interact with some new creations alongside of it. But ultimately, there is a limiting factor, and there's only so many different ways we can see those stories be told. So it is a fine line to walk. I understand why they don't want to leave it entirely, but I do think that you need to focus more on some of the other things. Not leave it behind completely, but we're getting a slew of things that are going to be taking place in that time frame. And there's already a pretty thick, dense network of things that are going on in that time. So
yeah, cool.
So the next thing we have is, I think they did a pretty good job of keeping things under wraps that this was going to be coming out this year, or rather that we were going to get this announcement this year. But we got a trailer for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is the sequel to the beloved Jedi Fallen Order. We knew it was coming. We knew they were working on it, but we didn't know how long it was going to take. And so to see a trailer ready to go, the first announcement that this is what the movie or the game will be called, and the fact that this will be coming out sometime in 2023, ideally. That's tentatively, although I don't think they gave a hard date on that yet. So that's pretty awesome. We got to see a trailer. We got to see some cool stuff in it. We got to see the Inquisitor, a nice synergy, having the Grand Inquisitor in this trailer as well as showing up in Kenobi. And it's great to see Cal and BD get back into the fray here as things seem more dire than ever for him.
Yeah, we saw this. The ship looked a wreck, right? In that one scene.
Is that what was going on? I wasn't 100% sure. I actually didn't get to revisit the trailer. But there was a lot going on. Things aren't great. It seems like he's very much on the run. And certainly he's gained the attention of the Inquisitorius, considering he killed one of them maybe, and another one died along the way, and he announced his presence to Vader in earnest, face to face. So
it's funny. I was thinking about this game the other day, the first one. I was like, man, what a great job they did telling an incredible story, like just focusing in on a character that we know nothing about, and like fleshing the whole thing out, and like showing you so much emotion and like this journey that he's going on. And it's so cool that these stories can exist in this time frame that we're aware of already. And I was like, man, they did such a good job how do they follow this up? And I'm just like so curious. Like are they marching towards an end that they have in mind? I'd be really curious to know if it started off with an ending.
It's a good point. It also depends on, do they plan on ending it here, or is this a story that will continue on?
Yeah,
For some time. Do they have it planned out as maybe a 3-act story, right? Where they
sure.
don't have to have the ending for this one in mind necessarily. Maybe
No. I just mean the character in general that like we haven't like. It's a character that like we've never seen before, and we spent a lot of time in future years in the Star Wars universe. So like, is it just that their paths would not have crossed, or like do they have like a full circle on this character that they intend to do? I would love to know, like in the planning of the storylines, if that's like if they have that already in their minds, because it seems so structured in the way that they're pushing him forward that I'm like, oh, like maybe like that would lead me to believe that they know where he's going, but they might not. I just think it's pretty cool it'll be fun to watch.
Well, what that question triggers for me is a lot of the conversation that you hear around the writing and development of both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, where there's a lot of preconceived notions going into a season or multiple seasons or the run of those shows that as they break out the story and they develop it and work on it and work on it and work on it, some of those things become cemented in and some of them get radically altered. Stuff like Jesse was only supposed to survive a few episodes and makes it through the whole run of the show.
Yeah.
Someone like Kim Wexler, who they don't really know what to do with her. She's going to fade into the background, and then she becomes a co-lead of the show by the end, and the entire fandom is living and breathing and dying by every little thing that happens to her, wondering what's going to happen at the end of the show. So I think it's nice to have a mark that you're aiming for, but the flexibility to be willing to change that thing if the work and the creativity and the collaboration leads to a better alternative.
But like, yeah, but even so, those are pieces though, right? They're pieces of the show, but like ultimately, like Vince Gilligan for Breaking Bad, like he had like it's going to be Walter White going from this to that. That's the whole show, and like that gives a lot of room to play in between. But this is where he's going, and they could stay true to that the entire way, which helps. I feel like ground them if they have decisions to make, right? Because like ultimately, like does this make sense in the character's arc leading to where we want him to go? Because that's the story they want to tell. So like I'm kind of curious, like do they have? I would love to know if like they have this story for Cal of like on the run to like self-sacrificing hero to like what is he like what like where do they plan on taking him, and if that's guiding some of the stuff in between, or if they're just kind of riding the wave like from the first game they made to wherever they go, like because like especially when it comes to video games, because like I feel like you don't know necessarily how many you'll get to make. Like it could very easily be like this one doesn't sell well, we're done. And it's like 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 that's really terrible. I mean, granted, now that it's in the Star Wars universe, they could probably just pick it up with a book or something to wrap it up. But it's just, I don't know. I'm just really curious, like what the plan is, or how more so like the creation of it. And I'll be really interested, like however many years down the road. My guess is going to be somewhere around 10, where they may have a documentary about like the making of this story or something like that, where they can unveil like the stuff that they had planned. So that because they can't reveal that now, obviously, but I don't know. I'm fascinated by this stuff.
Yep, excited to see that. Definitely, that gives us more than enough time to try and make it through another playthrough to enjoy that.
I'm so ready. I was like, when I watched the trailer, I was like, can I just like stop working today and go play Fallen Order again? That game is so good.
It really is.
I will say, I don't love Dathomir. But
no, it's annoying. Honestly,
it's in the like it's fine because everything else, and it also has that sick owl fight, whatever the hell
that owl. But I forgot what that thing was called. But that was an interesting little boss fight.
Indeed,
big boss fight. I'm excited. There was another video in here that I didn't get to watch yet. But it was how Fallen Order sets up Jedi Survivor. So I guess it's going to be a little bit of background as to what happens between maybe and where it's all going, how that baton gets passed. But
cool.
Next thing on the agenda here is Ahsoka. They had a first look at the show. I believe that this was an exclusive to Star Wars Celebration. I think only people who had purchased tickets and showed up were allowed to watch this.
Cool.
I think there may have been some, if you were watching the stream, there may have been some of the actors who were cast in the show showed up. Okay. You may have seen them even in costume. Actually, I was unclear on that part because I didn't watch much of the stream. I was extremely busy last week during work and everything. So I did hear a little bit about this, so I'm going to read this little blurb here. Ahsoka first look teases Star Wars Rebels Ezra, Sabine, Hera, and Chopper. Star Wars Celebration has given those in attendance the first look, the upcoming Disney Plus Ahsoka series, and has teased that live-action versions of Star Wars Rebels' Sabine Wren, Chopper, and Hera Syndulla will be part of the series. And with a mural of Ezra Bridger in the show, there's a good chance he may appear as well. I know
That's cool.
They introduced the actress who was cast to play the live-action Sabine. Let me see if this article here has her name. I know that they rolled out a little a chopper, like a live chopper.
Love it.
And I know that has been around a few times in the past with some of the other stuff that's going on. I know it was around a lot with Filoni when he was talking about Rebels, like during like the later run of the show and everything. So Natasha Liu Bordizzo will play the live-action version of Sabine Wren. She was not the original voice actress. I think that was Tia Searcar.
Okay.
She was at the celebration and shared a bit about how much this role means to her. I feel like I could have just been adopted into a new family. I feel that way about everyone I work with, but also the fans. It's just the most welcoming, creative. I never experienced anything like this. Everything on set's going really well. I know how much Sabine means to many people in this room. I know how much she means to Dave Filoni, and I think you guys are going to be really excited about the journey she's about to have. Now, they haven't confirmed it yet, but I have heard that, is it Vanessa Marshall or something like that? Vanessa something, who played Hera, and she also came back in Star Wars Squadrons to voice that character, who was a part of that whole game. So I believe the rumors are that she's going to return to play Hera in the live-action show, but I don't know if that's
cool.
Confirmed yet. For me, I've all along been saying I really hope that Lars Mikkelsen continues to play Thrawn because I thought he did such a great job. And I would not rule out seeing her showing up, Sabine at least showing up in Mandalorian, considering her connection to Bo-Katan.
Sure, that makes sense.
Next topic here is... Oh, sorry. I know they're in the process of making Ahsoka. I don't know if that's coming out later this year or it might be next year. I forget. Star Wars Skeleton Crew officially announced for 2023 with Jude Law. Did you see anything about this one?
No.
Disney has officially announced Star Wars Skeleton Crew, a new Disney Plus original series that will launch in 2023 and star Jude Law. Created by Spider-Man No Way Home's John Watts and Christopher Ford. Oh, I didn't know John Watts was joining the Star Wars
pretty cool
stuff. We obviously dig the Spider-Man movies that he's done.
Oh, yeah.
It will follow a group of 10-year-old kids from a small planet who get lost in the galaxy far, far away and must try to find their way home. The story will take place after Return of the Jedi and will fit within the timeline of The Mandalorian and Ahsoka. It sounds like, I believe, Jude Law is like the captain of the ship that these kids end up joining up with, but I don't know too much about that show yet.
Star Wars Peter Pan.
Kind of, yeah. The Mandalorian season 3 is coming in 2023. I believe that was another one where there was exclusive footage for people who were there.
Oh, cool.
To watch. So we'll see how long it takes for that to finally make it out into the interwebs. But,
underneath it, there's a clip that says The Mandalorian Season 3 exclusive celebration footage breakdown, and the still frame is Mando cruising through the air holding Grogu.
Yes. So you found the article?
Yeah, I'm scrolling through it with you just so I can keep up.
Sensible. It's a sensible way to go about things. So while it was only shown behind closed doors, IGN was part of the Star Wars Celebration panel that revealed the first footage of The Mandalorian's third season. The footage is a sizzle reel of sorts and reintroduces us to characters we have already met, like Emily Swallow's armorer, Carl Weathers' Grief Karga. That you're going to do Mando there. I know whenever I mention it.
Sorry, I may have read ahead.
It's okay. Paul Sun-Hyung Lee's Captain Carson Teva. I don't actually remember who that character is. Amy Sedaris' Pelimato, and more. However, the big focus was Katie Sackhoff's Bo-Katan Kryze, who looks to be on a collision course with Mando and Grogu. They also teased that stars. That's what you're supposed to be.
I'm so excited.
The Rise of Skywalker's Babu Frick, or at least his species, will appear in the next season.
I'm Babu Frick. The droid is ready.
What a ridiculous character that was.
That, like, that makes up for any of the shortcomings of the Rise of Skywalker. Like, if there's a different version of the story, but I don't get Babu Frick, I think I might take the one with Babu Frick. Oh man!
Sorry, a very large dog just jumped up onto a chair behind me. Star Wars: The Bad Batch Season 2 trailer confirms a fall 2022 release window and a Wookiee Jedi.
Cool.
What a what a subheading that was.
Yes. I love
Why
that.
are those two things in one sentence? The trailer and release window news has revealed that was revealed at Star Wars Celebration 2022 teases that some time has passed since the first season as our crew looks a bit older and is wearing new gear. It also looks like Emperor Palpatine and Commander Cody will factor into the season alongside a Wookiee Jedi who may or may Gungi. Oh, I remember that character. I don't remember how the name was pronounced. That was a character from, I think, fairly late stages in Star Wars Clone Wars. There was a run of episodes in which, obviously Master Yoda would take his turn teaching groups of very young Padawans, and he would essentially chaperone them on their first trip to Illis to make their first lightsaber. But as part of Ahsoka's training, she was the one who was actually supposed to guide them within the caves. And so a young Ahsoka takes a group of very young Jedi into the caves where the kyber crystals were to lead the young Padawans to she couldn't lead them directly. She could just give them guidance as to how to connect with the Force in order to let the Force lead them to the kyber crystal that would ultimately become their lightsaber. And one of the young Padawans was a Wookiee. He made himself a lightsaber that the handle was made of tree bark.
Oh yes, that's amazing.
And that was that one. I remember. I'll never forget that name, even though I actually don't 100% remember how it was pronounced. But we'll see whether or not that is the character. But it would certainly make sense to bring that back in this situation. We don't know.
Years ago, I made a lightsaber hilt, like out of just random shit from Home Depot that looked exactly like Vader's lightsaber. Or sorry, Anakin's lightsaber, and it was
important distinction.
It was so
Anakin
cool.
Skywalker's lightsaber does not look like Darth Vader's lightsaber.
Yeah, it was so cool, and I'm kind of like I have no idea where it is. I wonder if it's still somewhere at my parents' house. But I basically made this little. I made like it's a metal. It was like a metal pipe, and then I use like PVC that I have like cut stuff into to make like the decorative parts of it, and then use like a Plastidip black paint over it to put those pieces on. And then what I ended up putting inside was like a piece of PVC, like the like a male screw piece. And then I had another piece of PVC that had the female piece on it that I could screw into it to actually spar with.
Nice.
It was awesome. It was such a cool little project.
So I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't think you ever showed me that.
I used windshield wiper blades for like the stripes of the hilt, like the hand, like right where your hand goes.
Yeah.
And rivets to hold that into place. It looked awesome. It was really cool.
I believe it. Man, I'm sure you've seen them, but those ones that they sell at Galaxy's Edge.
Oh yeah, one day I'm going to mortgage our house and go take Elio there.
Oh my god.
He'll have all the lightsabers and droids that he wants.
My one of my cousins on my dad's side of the family just took his kids there a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't see them, but my aunt was telling me that his two sons, one of them is in like I don't know, maybe second grade, and the other one's in kindergarten or something like that. The two of them got the lightsabers, and they're both, especially the older one, are huge Star Wars fans. And she was like, "Oh my god, you should see these kids!" It was like a kid on all of the Christmases at once, and how obscenely expensive the lightsabers were, and also the hassle of getting them back onto a plane.
That I was really curious about the logistical part there. Like, how do you get that home?
So apparently, like, you're flying out of Florida, it's a thing now. Like, they know,
they get it,
but it doesn't mean that it's easy.
That's amazing. Just ship it.
Honestly, it might be easier. It might be less of a
drive.
hassle. That would not be less of a hassle. I still actually technically have never finished the first season of The Bad Batch. I want to say I watched maybe 2/3 of the season, and I just fell off it. I think my schedule had gotten really busy at that point, and I haven't picked it back up. I probably should do that one of these months. But anyway, that's cool. I'm definitely interested in that. And on the note of returning Star Wars animated shows, Star Wars Visions to return in spring 2023 with Volume 2.
Oh, cool.
I know that I ended up jumping back ahead of you in the watching of that. I have been loving it. I know you really liked it. I still haven't watched it since we talked about it several weeks ago, but I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely psyched. Well, I think what I love about it is, unlike something like The Bad Batch, which is serialized, or any of these other shows, I don't feel guilty about dropping Visions for a week or a month because I don't have to worry about it to watch the next episode. I can watch it whenever I want, and it's a nice little thing to just, I'm in the mood for that. Let me watch that for 15 or 20 minutes. And I'm definitely psyched to see more stories because I thought they crushed it with the first season.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. I don't remember how many I have left, but
I think I had like 2 left or 1 left. I don't remember. The next thing was just some talk about the Obi-Wan show, which obviously is airing currently. Here's the next new news. Star Wars Tales of the Jedi is an animated series featuring Ahsoka, Count Dooku, and Liam Neeson's Qui-Gon Jinn. It's an upcoming anthology series of original animated shorts headed to Disney Plus this fall that will not only tell stories of Ahsoka and Count Dooku at different parts of their lives, but also see Liam Neeson return to voice Qui-Gon. It's kind of a cool idea. It's kind of in the similar vein of Visions, but hey, let's do like a one-shot of background of established characters we know about. Like,
don't try to throw me off the trail. He's showing up at some point during this Obi-Wan show. I know it. I feel it.
They've been talking about him an awful lot for him to not show up, even if it's just his voice.
I know. We scrolled over this one piece that said Hayden Christensen only needed 6 words to send the Star Wars Celebration crowd wild. This is where the fun begins.
Yeah, that's been making the news for...
That's great.
Sorry, I just got a series of texts. I want to make sure it wasn't important. I think that's funny. I'm still curious. There's obviously been a lot of feints in regard to how much Anakin / Darth Vader we're going to get in this show, and so I am cautiously curious to see how that all goes.
Lego Star Wars BD1 is up for pre-order.
Sorry, what's that?
Lego Star Wars BD1 is up for pre-order.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. How expensive is that?
I'm looking it up right now. What? It's $100.
That's actually not as bad as I would have thought.
No. I was like, surely this will be $400 or $500.
Like a battery operated one? There's wires sticking out.
I don't know. I think those are just for a show. But, man, that's cool.
They're doing it, looks like a sequel to... Actually, I don't even remember reading this when I was skimming through it. They're doing a sequel to the Lego Star Wars Christmas holiday special. This Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation reveal. Set to arrive on Disney Plus on August 5th. We'll see Rose, Rey, Finn, Poe, and Chewbacca taking a vacation after defeating Emperor Palpatine. They will quickly learn that other Star Wars characters who have attempted to take a peaceful vacation have not had much luck. Alongside the return of many classic characters, Weird Al Yankovic will also make an appearance as
my god,
Vic Vanko. I love that on the poster is a beach ball that is a Death Star.
Amazing. I mean, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's
Star Wars
great.
is...
That beach bowl is fantastic. I think the porgs on top of the what I'm assuming is some sort of like boogie board that's on top of Darth Vader's head is really just great.
Yeah, Darth Vader who's carrying a surfboard.
He's got a surfboard in one
He's
hand.
got a tropical hat on, I think. I think that's what...
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
The big sun hat things with like the tropical like flowers on it.
Who's in the water with a paddleboard? Like not a paddleboard, sorry, like the paddle game where you hit the ball.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure. Is that Finn like playing a ukulele or something?
I think that he's building a sandcastle.
There's definitely sand in front of him. So be careful with sand. Of course,
sand.
It's everywhere. Star Wars is getting a High Republic kids show. Young Jedi Adventures is a new show headed to Disney Plus and Disney Junior that is aimed at pre-kindergarten children. Furthermore, it is during the High Republic era. So something for Elio to watch when it comes out.
Hell yeah.
He'll be the perfect age for that, I guess.
Amazing.
Now we transition from the Star Wars news at Star Wars Celebration to other Lucasfilm projects. We have Indiana Jones 5 first image revealed at Star Wars Celebration. Harrison Ford stopped by to help share the first image of Indiana Jones 5. Unfortunately, there was no trailer or further story details, and it is a silhouette of Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones walking over a rickety rope bridge in the middle of a cave.
It's a great still frame.
Oh, absolutely.
It looks really cool. I actually had The Last Crusade on the other day, and it was just fantastic.
You know, I saw that, actually. I saw that on Paramount Plus when I signed in.
Yeah. Man, what a treat.
Willow gets a new trailer at Star Wars Celebration. I always forget that Willow is a thing. That was a Lucasfilm thing. I've never watched it. I don't hardly know anything about it, but they're doing a new show featuring Warwick Davis returning as the Nelwyn dwarf and sorcerer Willow Ufgood this November. The sequel is set 20 years after the 1988 original, and Davis will be joined by Joanne Whalley, Ari Kellyman, Ellie Bamber, and...
Cool. I feel like I watched Willow once.
I didn't. I was going to ask you if you knew anything about it, because I don't.
Not much.
Okay, interesting. And then there was some details here on Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lord's release date announced for Nintendo Switch. So I guess...
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Look, with a remake of the first one on the horizon as an exclusive for PlayStation, it's just so weird that this is coming out.
Wait, it's an exclusive to PlayStation? That's
Pretty sure.
I'll still never be able to play that damn game.
I think it is. I'm like 90% sure I didn't make that up.
Okay. I really don't know anything about it other than that it exists, that they're redoing it. There also has the High Republic showcasing Jeddah centuries before the Empire. That was the planet featured early on in Rogue One, where what's his name was? Forrest Whitaker's character. His name's escaping me at the moment.
Saul?
Yeah, Saw Gerrera.
Gerrera.
That's right.
Saw Gerrera.
Nope. This is just a bit of an Easter egg that there is a tiny Akira Kurosawa figure hidden somewhere in certain episodes of The Mandalorian.
Okay.
Dave Filoni has revealed that he has hidden a tiny Akira Kurosawa figure.
I just can imagine him running around the set going...
I mean, I have to imagine
They'll
that's
never
just
find
his...
it.
I have to imagine that's just his general experience directing an episode of anything at this point, because I mean, he does literally get to live out his dream every day.
Yeah.
In a way that so very few people do.
It's amazing.
Oh, this is fantastic. I don't remember seeing this when I first opened this up the other day. Hayden Christensen versus the High Ground. The funny story behind losing to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Huh.
And then most of this is other just little nuggets about the other shows, specifically Obi-Wan. And then one final little thing that I thought was cool. I didn't actually watch this video. I may watch it, but I had heard about this. Harrison Ford shares tearful moment with John Williams. That's cool.
Oh.
Know each other for a very long time. So
that's cool.
I can't imagine Harrison Ford sharing a tearful moment with anyone, because by all accounts he seems to be a crotchety old prick. But it's nice to see the human side of him.
Star Wars.
I can't imagine being graced with all of the tremendous success and love that he has been granted in his career and not being somewhat gracious about it. That's the part. Like, he may not be a bad person.
Sure.
And I understand. And the older you get, maybe you just want to be left alone to do what you want to do to a certain extent. But to a certain extent, like just a little bit of grace and humility.
Yeah, from our perspective, it's easy to feel that way.
Yeah, well, from my perspective, the Jedi are evil.
Dude, you killed the youngling, bro. Game over.
I'm just saying a little grace and humility. I'm not saying that you have to bend over backwards for everyone at all times. Certainly no one wants to be accosted in public. I get all of that, but like if you're showing up for an appearance or something, just like show the slightest interest in what you're there to talk about.
Sometimes you're a gracious actor and you're super nice and everybody loves you, and sometimes you're crotchety and a door falls and breaks your leg.
But like the thing is, I can understand him bitterly talking about being 74 years old and having a hydraulic door crush his leg. I understand that, by all means.
But if my leg were to break and it was on the Millennium Falcon, I think I'd be alright with it.
My point is, I can understand him being mad at, say, whoever the person responsible for that door was. You know, by all means, you're going to lay into them with some choice words while you're... Tell that to Conja Club.
I always love, it's one of those weird things. It doesn't matter at all, but it's just like it always is a moment of immersion breaking experience is when I just like recognize that the characters in the Star Wars universe have accents that I'm familiar with. I just think it's so funny.
Scots in space are always a bit of an... Also, remember we established in season 1 of The Mandalorian that Space Boston exists.
That's right. What a hoot. Was that it?
That's all I've got on Star Wars Celebration.
All right, so let's take a Star Wars pause here. And before we go to the movie, we'll do a little bit of a Obi-Wan jam so that we can go full spoilers and put the bookmark so people can skip over it if they want to.
Oh, so we're doing the opposite of pausing on Star Wars. We're going pedal to the metal on Star Wars. We're emptying the chamber on Star Wars.
No, I'm saying we're going to pause it on now. We're going to talk about this other note that you have in News and Nuggets.
Oh,
and then
sorry. I was totally confused by what it was you were trying to convey.
It's all good.
Man.
It's all good. I'm confused today too, so it's fine. It's still Monday, right? Like that's...
No, can confirm it's Wednesday.
That's how this week has worked. All right,
listen,
cool.
I'm always hit or miss with the dates, but days of the week I have to know for work.
Tell me about Better Call Saul's return, you anthropomorphic hop.
So, there was an article that came out the other day on I almost said Vanity Fair. That's incorrect. On Variety, and it was an interview with Peter Gould, who I think that maybe he's been done dirty a bit in the Breaking Saul universe, because him and Gilligan created these shows together, created the characters together. They work like hand in hand, and we all only ever talk about Vince Gilligan, and it seems unfair to Peter Gould.
That's true. He's also like him and Evan Goldberg, Seth Rogen's semi-silent partner. I remember when we saw that sausage party, and everybody was like, when we saw Seth Rogen on the way out, everybody was like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "Yeah, the guy standing right behind him is Evan Goldberg."
Now, does he look like Michael Cera? Or
no?
Well, I mean, that was the thing. Is that, like,
well, he was. He, I guess you could say yes in the way that he was standing there, like kind of head hung low, keeping out of sight. But.
So, like, Jonah Hill and Michael Cera were playing the inserts for Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg in Superman.
Right.
So I wondered if they cast Michael Cera because he was vaguely reminiscent. How about this? Does he look like Joseph Gordon-Levitt? Because wasn't that also Evan Goldberg in 50-50?
I don't remember.
That movie was about how Seth Rogen's best friend almost died from cancer, right?
Yeah.
It was Evan.
Yes. I just don't remember. I don't remember that being the case, but not really.
One of these days,
the thing is, I've seen him enough times that he looks like him. He looks like Evan Goldberg. Like he doesn't see like. But I guess I could see them other characters playing.
See, I've actually never seen him before, so that's why I'm asking.
Sure.
I'm aware of him, but I've never seen.
I'm aware. You said you were Ed.
So
you said you were Kurt.
They've kind of quietly not really talked about it so much. But it seems like the last couple of seasons of Saul, the reins have kind of been passed more to Gould than Gilligan. It sounds like he's kind of sort of been more in charge for the last couple of years.
I've noticed mostly his name in the credits.
And that's why I'm saying, well, not only that, but like interview stuff too. Like I see him interviewed much more often. And it sounded like that kind of sort of happened around the time that the production of El Camino started, because that was really a Gilligan project.
Right.
It was his passion to do that movie. So in that time, he gave the more direct control to Gould, it seemed like. But again, the two of them work together, so who really cares who's quote unquote in charge? I just think, and I'm as guilty as anyone, I'll be freely admit, of just going default to Gilligan.
Same.
Gould should continue to be mentioned alongside of him. And so it's interesting just to see and hear his perspective too, because I feel like we lost track of him for several years around the end of Breaking Bad and the beginning of Saul. But this was an interview that Gould gave to Variety a week or so ago. And, it's just a little bit of a Q&A about some of the stuff from the show, from the first half of the final season, and what to expect from the second half. I'm going to skim past most of the beginning stuff. I'll just kind of reference that, they ask about why they chose to unspool Jim and Kimmy's plot against Howard in the way that they did. How long were they planning that for? There was one interesting little note here. I think we mentioned it kind of obliquely when we talked about it last week, but I do think it was they asked him about it as like the by far the most like physically affectionate scene we ever saw between Jim and Kimmy was during the call while they were listening to Howard totally unspool in real time.
Yeah,
and I found that interesting that weirdly his demise was like an active aphrodisiac for them.
Yeah,
it's a little disturbing.
It's uncomfortable.
Perfectly honest. Just what is the two of their responsibility and Howard's death specifically, and whether or not there may be some coming to terms with that in the back half of the season.
Sure. But
some of the more interesting stuff overall, that's more background stuff, but more tangible stuff is concerning Lalo here. How it didn't quite click for me at first, but obviously I figured it out. The fact that Lalo kind of figured that the line is tapped during his conversation, and how he spoiled his whole big master plan to a certain extent, and I had to go to plan B, it seemed. A comparison between Walter White and Lalo vis-a-vis going at Gus and who was the more worthy adversary, this, that, and the other thing, which I found was interesting as far as some psychology of Gus. The question was, as Gus faced off against Lalo, we see a lot more of his struggle, while as he plotted against Walter White in Breaking Bad, he seemed to have been much more invincible. Is Lalo a more worthy opponent to Gus, or do we just see more of Gus's behind the scenes in Better Call Saul? The response was, Walter White's great advantage is that Gus Fring underestimates him, and I don't think Gus can truly see what he's dealing with in Walter White. The other side of it is that Gus always wants the best, and Walter White is the best, so he's kind of in a pickle there. He knows very well who he's dealing with when he deals with Lalo Salamanca. He's dealing with somebody who's ruthless and clever and has no hesitation about ending human life, and who's a part of the family who's made themselves the enemies of Gus Fring. So I think Fring understands what he's dealing with much better with Lalo. But on the other hand, when Fring is dealing with Walt, we're in the future and Gus is a slightly different guy at that point. He's conquered a lot of enemies at that point. I'm glad you brought this up because I love the way Giancarlo Esposito plays Gus in these moments. You see that he's not always in control. That air of being in complete and utter control at all times, to some extent, is something of an illusion that he cultivates. So it's interesting to see what's going on underneath that mask.
Yeah, that's true. You see the cracks in the foundation when it comes to Lalo, and like there's actual fear, because he is such a wild card.
Yeah. Well, I also think, to the point with Walter, I think at no point in that whole thing up until the moment he dies, I don't think he ever fears for his life in his fight with Walter. Right? I think he fears not getting what he wants.
Right.
I think he, fears losing out on money and on his status and his power if Walter walks away and upends his operation. But I don't think he ever fears for his own physical life. Whereas with Lalo, he is very aware that guy might find a way to kill him.
Yet.
Yeah, which may be why Walter succeeds. There's a little bit of hubris on...
One of the great screams in television. No!
Then there was a little note about Gus's backstory, whether they had conceived this whole thing with Lalo during Breaking Bad, and no, that was something that was come up with during the run, especially once they decided to introduce Lalo, who I know in previous interviews that I think it may have been Gold, maybe it was Gilligan, I don't remember. They had said that they had never really thought 100% that they were ever going to introduce Lalo. It might have just been a random name, and then developing that idea out during the course of making Better Call Saul, I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Now here's some really good, juicy stuff for the final half of the season. We haven't seen Gene Dukovich yet this season. Is Part 2 going to open where we left off?
Oh, Gene!
The last flash forward. When we conceived of this season and when we outlined it, we didn't know that there was going to be a break between the two halves. That came about because of the way production worked and some other factors. And this is not a parenthetical, but I'm inserting it. I imagine some of those other factors is Bob Odenkirk on this.
Right, sure.
It really was not designed to be two separate halves, so I wouldn't expect the story to kind of take a long breath and then restart necessarily. Though, it's not a big surprise to say you're going to be seeing Gene because he is the key arc of the season. You see Bob Odenkirk as Gene either putting on or taking off that red sports coat they're talking about in the promotional material.
Mm-hmm.
So we're waiting for a while, but you will see Gene for sure.
Cool.
In the flash forward sequence at the beginning of season 6, we see Saul's house being torn apart, which we can assume is happening post Breaking Bad. So we'll search for clues about Kim in that timeline. Some people on the internet have zeroed in on a tiny detail that might imply Kim is still in Jimmy's life. The toilet seat is down. Is that a hint? All I can say is that the greatest compliment we could have is that folks are worried about Kim Wexler. And you should. Will Nacho's death have consequences?
Yikes.
Well, Gilligan and Gould have been very game for that whole thing. They have been absolutely torturing the fan base vis-a-vis Kim for some time. Will Nacho's death have consequences going forward? There are some loose ends surrounding Nacho, and we try not to leave a lot of those loose ends on the show. He's still on the minds of many and many characters, so maybe there's more to say there. And this is the final question and answer. With Nacho and Howard dead, the story seems to be narrowing quite a bit. What can we expect from this final batch of episodes? Well, the focus is the same one that we started with, which is the story of Jimmy, who was Slippin' Jimmy, who was Saul Goodman, who becomes Gene Dukovich. And what is to become of him? What does he deserve, and who is he really in his heart? Those are all questions that are still open on the show. Second half of the season is really surprising, and I think that some of the most powerful work we've ever done. I'm very excited for people to see it.
Oh, I'm getting chills listening to this. It's so good. I'm so pumped. How many episodes? Another 7 or?
We already got 7. I think the final bit is 6.
Okay, I think we got 7.
If we got 7, then we're getting 6. If we got 6, then we're getting 7. I think it's 13 total for the season.
Storms are coming. If this episode ends early, it's because the power went out.
Is it bad by you? It's not too bad by me.
There was a tremendous flash of light behind the shades, so and then rumbling thunder. Man, I'm pretty pumped for that.
Me too.
So many things, so many good shows. That's that they've really it's so interesting. Like it's been on for a while. Like to think back on this show and like all of the things that have happened, it's like it's wild. It's like it's in like my mind like when I first think of it, it's like Better Call Saul is a fairly new show. It's not. It's been on for many years and it's coming to an end. Like that's why, and I imagine it was probably the same way for folks that were watching Breaking Bad like week by week. Like I only did that for the final season. I'm pretty sure it was when we caught up. I had it was on my radar, but I wasn't watching it. And then suddenly I started watching it, and like we burned through all of it and caught up. I think for the second half of the final season to watch live, which was great. Yeah, but it was a different experience.
At that time, I had a choice to make because I had 2 different groups of friends. Some who were watching Breaking Bad, some who were watching Dexter. And I had the opportunity to catch up on one of those shows in time for the end of the final season. I chose Dexter, watch it so that I could watch the last couple of episodes concurrently with their airing. I watched all of Breaking Bad maybe 6 months or so after when the final season finally dropped on Netflix. I binged the whole Breaking Bad show. So I wasn't that far behind it, but
sure. I feel like the other option would have been better. Would have flip-flopped that.
You can argue that.
Especially considering an actual final season was later released.
Sure, there was certainly no way of knowing that. It was nearly 10 years later.
Man, that wait, did you ever? I can't remember. Did you end up finishing New Blood or no?
No, I didn't.
Oh my goodness!
I still have to get to it. Well, because me and my sister and my mom were watching it, and we haven't gotten back together to watch it. I might just watch it the rest of it myself at some point, but I still have not had time for still several other shows.
You definitely should.
Anymore. Halo, you'll I'm going to be up against it, trying to finish Severance before my free trial ends.
It's $5 a month. It's really no big deal if it ends.
Sure, it's the principle, damn it.
Sure. Oh, man. Cool. All right, so, friends, at this point, Al and I are going to discuss Obi-Wan Kenobi, the first 2 episodes, which were the ones that we were able to see before.
Which by the time this releases, will already be having watched the 4 of
them. Yeah, we'll be out. But that being said, if you don't want any spoilers on Obi-Wan Kenobi, please skip forward to the next chapter, which will be our flick of the week.
Wait, not consumption?
Sorry. Oh, crap. I forgot about consumption.
Yeah.
To our next chapter, which will be consumption. Well, either way, it's chapters. You can look in your podcast app. There's a way to skip and look at the chapters. We have them. They're there. Skip it if you don't want the Obi-Wan stuff.
I gotta be honest, I still don't know how to work the chapters.
It's a button somewhere.
Sure. I mean, I listen to all my podcasts on Spotify, and I'm sure that some of the podcasts I listen to have chapters, and yet I don't know how to access them.
Yeah. Well, I also put them in the show notes. So if you don't have the chapter skip, you can just look at the timestamps in the show notes.
See, I have consulted that for episodes of stuff in the past for different shows.
With that being said, I guess we're going to keep this in the news and nuggets, even though it is part of consumption.
I mean, you could always play around with it and edit it. You can put this at the end the way that we've always done these post-credit as we debut Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. I like that. I'm not going to, though. That's way more work.
Oh, that's up to you. I don't care.
So you can skip ahead if you do not want Obi-Wan Kenobi spoilers. Obi-Wan Kenobi has dropped. I watched both episodes over the course of this weekend in 4 sittings.
I watched it all in one slightly drowsy sitting.
So
I did not fall asleep. I did come kind of close about halfway through the second episode, but I did power through.
The night it came out, the day it came out, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited all day. I cannot wait to watch this. Cannot wait to watch this. Cannot wait to watch this. Also, Stranger Things came out that day. And Kim watches Stranger Things. She does not watch Star Wars stuff. So we're like, before bed, I'll probably watch the first episode of Obi-Wan, right? We ended up watching way too much Stranger Things that night. Went to bed pretty late, but I was still so excited that I was like, screw it. I brought my laptop into bed, and I started watching Obi-Wan. And I got about 15 minutes in before I started to nod off, and I was like, I was fighting so hard to not fall asleep because I really wanted to watch it, but I was like, I can't do this. The same thing happened the next 2 nights. And then the final night, I watched like the remaining 60% of the first episode and the second episode. Also late, but I was like, at that point, I was like, the weekend's about over. I'm seeing it.
At that point, you cracked open a C4.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in. I'm very much enjoying a lot of it. There are bits that I'm not super thrilled with that we'll get into. But overall, happy. Very happy. I think that it's going to be great. Getting your bearings a little clunky up front, you got to learn the pacing of the show and how it's being made and whatever. It's fine. But like, just to have, honestly, you know what really got me was the recap that they did.
That was cool. It was interesting because it was like vignettes from all 3 of the prequels,
right? And also the entirety of the story. It was impressive. No, but it was good.
There was no pod racing.
Yeah, there wasn't a clip of that. Nah,
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's really fun to see Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan. Definitely some great even memes that you've shared with me about like how is he supposed to age into Alec Guinness in the next 4 minutes? Yes. But that was fine. I don't really care too much about that stuff. But overall, like seeing him, like it's been 10 years and like he's living this secluded life and watching Luke from a distance, and he goes to the whale shop. He chops up some whales all day. he scrapes off a little piece for his horse aardvark, and then
Isn't it? Well, there's a name for it. Is it an Eopie or something like that?
I don't know.
I think that's what that thing is called.
Which has a very odd and interesting animation. The way that it sits down for him to get off of it, it's very clunky, but I kind of love it.
Oh yeah, when he went out into the desert, I thought it was dying. I thought it was like when Hans Tauntaun died.
Yeah,
because it was a little awkward.
Yeah, it was, but very very cool. And then I didn't know what to expect, and maybe I didn't pay too much attention to the trailers because I definitely didn't want to get too far into it. But I didn't realize we were gonna get a good chunk of young Leia. It makes total sense that we would.
I didn't know we were going to get any young Leia.
Yeah.
That's what the whole first 2 episodes and maybe the third by the time we watch it
Sure.
came out today, but neither of us had time before our recording.
But it makes sense, right? I like what they're doing. They're making their paths cross to the point where it will make sense that she is leaving him this message. Just in A New Hope. Just her leaving the message based on the fact that he was close to her father isn't really enough. Knowing more about him, I feel like it gives it more meaning and power. Well, it's pretty cool.
Let's say it's funny. I saw some people complaining about that. It's like, wait, you're just saying, hey, you worked with my father, not, hey, thanks for saving me that time I got kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I hear you on that, but if you really go back and think about it, I don't think he ever introduces himself or is around her as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think he just refers to himself as Ben.
Mm.
So it's entirely possible that this 9-year-old girl doesn't know that that's the same person.
Oh, interesting. I kind of thought that it was, and the message is as straightforward as it can be, with also being slightly cagey. That they don't to keep their distance a little bit, but I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
I just assumed, because it's fair, you would wonder whether that's a retcon. Why wouldn't she say, hey, Obi-Wan, I need you to save my ass again?
Remember that time you saved me from the kidnappers?
Let's try that again, for old time's sake.
They got me again.
And fair enough, but if she hasn't made the connection that it's the same person,
that's true.
Fair game.
That's true. Well, there is one. I don't know. It could be that if you want to fully retcon the whole gem, when Luke says who he is when they're rescuing Princess Leia, he goes, "I'm here with Ben Kenobi," and she goes, "Ben Kenobi." So she does. The naming is there. I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but it was really cool. That whole running through the city, escaping, her running away from him, and him being like, "God, damn kids!" I feel like it was a John Mulaney skit. I could see him recapping the whole series at some point. But it was, I don't know, it's just a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes. The big reveals within the end of the second episode. I didn't. Which also is going to raise some questions for me. I didn't realize that he thought Anakin died.
Why wouldn't he? He fell into lava.
Okay. So he was just going to let him burn there?
But he did.
Right, but I kind of just assumed that he knows that he's strong enough to get to basically live, but probably not going to be able to do much after that.
Well, he went to hunt him down. I always thought all along it just showed how broken Obi-Wan was, because you would think, okay, I'm really mad at you, but I've just poured out my heart and soul to tell you how much I love you and how betrayed I feel. You're missing your limbs and you're on fire. Why not just use the Force and just go and just kind of finish the job, end the suffering? But he doesn't.
Yeah,
which I think shows you how broken and hurt he is.
Oh, okay, that's how you're going with it.
I think he's just assuming, because you broke my heart, much like you broke Amidala's heart, who is dying from a broken heart, I'm going to let you burn.
Forgot about that dying from a broken heart thing for a second.
Yes.
It was a good second. Jesus. I will say that sequence where you remind me of someone, an old friend, that like, when he's talking to Leia, like their stubbornness. I was just like, this is so good. Like the hair on my arm stands no chance. It is upright.
Well, it's a great Rorschach test because you could damn well wonder, is he thinking of Anakin or Padme or both?
Mm. No, I think it's very clearly and without question Padme.
Sure, but you can make the
referencing her
argument.
mother.
Absolutely, but you could also make the argument that he remembers a stubborn little boy who was wise beyond his years, named Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
Because I agree. My first thought was Padme, and then I was like, you know what? From a certain point of view, this just as easily could fit Anakin. So she really is her parents' daughter.
It's not. It's Padme because he's blocked Anakin out of his mind.
Anakin? No, that's a name I haven't heard in a very long time.
But that was that moment though, where he snaps to with the Force again, and like has that connection with Vader in the back of the tank.
So I was wondering about that because I think everyone has read that as absolutely what happened, and I don't know if that's true. It could just be the visual language of storytelling. Because, how many times is someone referenced and then you cut to a scene of that person, whether or not there is some sort of mind meld through the Force. I'm talking about outside of Star Wars and all other forms of filmmaking. There's a very specific thing in filmmaking to do. I understand why one goes to that connection. And I'm not saying that's not what it is. I'm just saying I wouldn't rule out that they don't connect there per se, because I just read that whole scene as Obi-Wan triggering his PTSD.
Oh, interesting. I thought that the reason why I thought that there was a connection wasn't just
there could be. I don't want to rule out that there could be, but I don't think that that's a guarantee. A lot of people are treating that as gospel.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't even realize
I haven't read anything, so I don't know if this is. My main thing there was that they cut to Anakin all like harnessed up in what appears to be like a bacta tank.
Yeah, his eyes open.
But his eyes are open, which like. Usually you're out when you're in one of those. So I thought he woke up. I thought that his eyes opened. I thought that's what happened when they cut to him. Were they open already?
No, I think they opened during that scene, but it absolutely could be that they kind of mind meld there, since he's now reconnected to the Force in a way that he hasn't in nearly a decade. Mm-hmm. But it also could just be the visual language of cinematic storytelling.
Sure.
Where that's the type of cut you make, and it's just to show the malevolent eyes of Darth Vader. As we know, when Anakin becomes Darth Vader, his eyes become malevolent.
I like to think that it's that they have this connection because it's the look all over their faces. Like you see Obi-Wan's face is like, oh my god, he's alive. Like, and like there's fear and torment. There's everything in that moment. And when you see Vader's face, it looks like just pure rage. And I'm like, oh, just that dichotomy of like the two of them. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, like this is so like I can't wait to see how this plays out over the course of the show, and then also like how is it going to play out?
Well, and that's the other thing. I part of what's making me believe that that's a possibility if it's just a storytelling device, because a lot of people have gotten hung up, and I don't think incorrectly that they should be hung up on this, about the whole thing that Darth Vader says during A New Hope, where, it's a presence I haven't sensed in a very long time. Mm-hmm. Now, 8 years is a long time, but 17 years is a lot longer than 8. To the last time we met, I was but the learner, now I'm the master. If they meet now, that seems less accurate. That would be a bit of a retcon, but... Mm-hmm. Whatever. Tarkin
just get Lucas in there. Have him recut it a few more times.
Well, all along I wondered whether they were going to play around with us with the whole casting of Anakin, whether there would be nightmare sequences or flashback sequences. Because to me that made more sense. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to show Anakin in heavily... it could have been anyone with all that prosthetic in the back. We know it was Hayden Christensen, but it literally could have been anyone. Sure. And then you could just... have Hayden Christensen show up on set a couple of times to read lines and shoot a couple of flashback scenes. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like we're getting Vader in some way, shape, or form. To me, it would feel like a betrayal of the original movie to have them fight in real time in
I-
this one.
Yeah, I've been curious about that from the beginning. I just kind of assumed. I thought it was interesting when they announced that he was going to be in it. I was like, okay, but then I just kind of assumed that their paths wouldn't actually physically cross. And then, like, yeah, maybe to your point, maybe it will be some sort of like, maybe it'll be like a dream sequence thing, like or a force cave type of situation where Obi-Wan needs to reconnect, so he like almost has to go through his own personal training again, which is I think where Qui-Gon might come into play. And like maybe we'll get in there a pretty sick fight sequence or something along those lines, just so that they could do it, like have their cake and eat it too, right? Like do that thing, but they never actually do connect. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I am really not a fan of this rebellious Inquisitor.
Riva, the second sister, third sister,
third, I think.
Third sister.
I'm just not. I don't know what it is about the performance that I'm just not feeling it.
I think the performance is fine. I'm not necessarily 100% all in on the character per se, like the writing of it.
It's so over the top, and you're such a wild card that the Grand Inquisitor would be like, no, and he would cut you down. Like, I feel like there's no reason that she would still be in the position that she's in. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, they don't give second or third or fourth chances. I feel like you fucked up once, they move on. Like, that's more, I don't know, Empire like.
Sure, I will say though, if you harken back to Rebels, the Inquisitor is a pretty arrogant character.
Mm-hmm.
He's powerful, and along with that power and his thoughts that he's above and better than all of it because he was Vader's like handpicked person to lead all of that. That hubris is a central point of that character. So
sure,
him expecting that his word will carry enough weight, and then being surprised when one of his underlings stabs him is certainly within the realm of possibility with all of that. Like the broad strokes of Riva, I think is fine. Mm-hmm. Some of the specific moments, I think the writing hasn't been super strong. Where she almost comes off Anakin-y in how like whiny she is.
Very much so.
But just some of the scenes, other scenes, I thought she was just fine. And I think though that a lot of people I think have been complaining about that interaction, those two characters so far, and I'm thinking we know that the Sith they're not great with hierarchies, they're not great with authority. Mm-hmm. When the whole personal credo for like well over 1,000 years is do whatever it takes to gain as much power and wealth and glory and everything that you possibly want. When that is the mantra for well over a millennium, you're not great at taking orders from someone.
Yeah.
And also this goes to kind of reaffirm the whole idea of the rule of two instituted by Darth Bane, where if there's ever more than two Sith, it's too many variables. You can't keep a good tab on everything that's going on. Everyone's trying to backstab each other too much. Like, there needs to be two of you. As long as you're a master who continues to show that you have new ways to teach and give and provide for the apprentice, you'll keep them at bay, because as soon as you run out of your utility, he's going to try and kill you. And either you'll win and find a new apprentice, or you'll lose and that one becomes the master.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, the Inquisitorius is a gamble. You're talking about two of the more powerful Sith that we've seen in quite some time, obviously, between Palpatine and Vader. And so in their arrogance, they think they can hold them at bay. And they end up proving correct. They don't get got because of the Inquisitors, but the Inquisitors also aren't as useful as they could be because they can't allow them to get too powerful, because then they could challenge.
Sure. Yeah, it was kind of. You probably know a little bit more about them than I do. I was like kind of curious, like, what are they? Like, are they like Sith Padawans? Like, what are like?
So that they're not actual apprentices. Technically, they're not considered Sith. They are trained in the dark arts, but they aren't granted full Sith status because ultimately they aren't powerful enough. There's a reason that there's 9 or 10 of them, because any one of them actually isn't strong enough to contend with a true Jedi Knight. Mm-hmm. But 2 or 3 of them can overpower a Jedi Knight.
Right. As we saw.
Yeah. I mean, look, Cal Kestis can take on the Ninth Sister and win, despite the fact that he was a Padawan when he severed his connection to the Force, and when he reconvenes with it, he's still kind of just kicking the training wheels off, and he is ultimately able to defeat a fully trained Inquisitor.
We've been doing a lot of this severing the connection with the Force business.
Well, for this time period, it makes sense, right? That was the only way they could survive and stay safe. By turning off, they basically turned off their GPS so that no one could track them.
Yeah.
But, that cuts both ways. I mean, you also can't access the things that you need of it.
Yeah.
Also, I do think that it was intentional to mirror back Obi-Wan to Luke, considering they went through similar cycles in their own journey, right? Where everything that they thought they knew about the Force and the Jedi came crashing down around them, and they thought that they were too arrogant, and so they thought the best way to go about things was to take themselves off the board.
Right.
They're both incorrect, but it's a real human, it's a justifiable way to look at things, I think, for both of them. You can understand how they come to that conclusion, even if it's faulty.
Man, I am looking forward to seeing the next one to see where, how it starts to unfold even further. But
I think my favorite part of all of this, as far as talking with other people about the show so far, is Brian was asking me and Dominic about it last night because he hadn't had a chance to watch the first 2 episodes yet. And me and Dominic, he's like, oh, but I haven't watched any of it yet, and whatever. So then a little bit later, we were talking, and Dominic started spoiling a little bit too much what happened. And not in a bad way, really, but he did start saying something about, Leia and the JC, and Brian's like, dude, and he's like, oh, sorry. I was like, don't worry, he didn't spoil anything. So Leia was just getting bothered by a flea.
Nice. Well played.
A most unexpected guest appearance by, of all people, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which I don't think we knew anything about. The one we did know about was Kumail Nanjiani. I appreciated his contributions.
That was cool. Yeah.
Especially since, immediately I was like, he's not a Jedi. This is all a fucking, mind game here. And, of course, Obi-Wan comes right in and goes, sweet magnets, bro. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I feel like he's so typecasted, though. I was, playing this, just kind of tool.
Yeah, I don't know, but I feel like a lot of times he kind of plays, the goofy version of it. So it was nice to see, the more slick and conniving version of it. I actually kind of liked that.
That's fair.
I especially liked his scene where he's distracting Reva, and I'm a Jedi, and I've lured you into my trap, and this, that, and the other thing. And she's like, dude, get the fuck out of my way. Which I was a little bit surprised she didn't just chop him in half there.
Mm-hmm. But I definitely liked that, okay, all right, scumbag player, just trying to get some money. I guess, okay, I could see through the crack. You are helping people. Yes, they're a little bit poor, as if that's how or their pockets are light or whatever he said. But then that moment when he's like, I'm going to help you. And it's we exist, people that are we don't want to be a part of this thing that's happening. The rebellion, basically. And it's just I thought that was cool. There's oh, you're starting to see some pieces. These people are surfacing.
Oh, it was definitely an unexpected face turn by him. Not just hey, I kind of feel bad, but no, now that I realize who you are and what you're about, I'm going to try and legitimately make amends. That was cool, and I think it does open up. I wonder if we see him again.
I can't imagine the way that played out. He'll help out again in some fashion.
Because I assumed if he wasn't, then she would have killed him, right?
Right. Almost definitely.
Yeah. We got to see one of your favorite people in Hollywood in the first episode. Benny Safdie played Nari, the Jedi on the run who. I mean, he just never had a chance, did he? I don't know how he lasted as long as he did.
Very grateful.
What's that?
Very grateful.
For what?
That he didn't make it.
Oh.
He should hang there with all of his garbage movies. Stop, they need... we need to stop trying to make him happen. No. No. Everybody's up his ass. These movies are not good.
People love those 2 movies, and I just don't get it. They're fine.
No. Just no. Ugh. Anyway, he doesn't make it. Happy about that. That was cool. Owen Lars. Is that his name?
Yes.
Not Lars Owen, but Owen Lars.
Owen
Lars playing, dickish Owen, as usual. I was rewatching, I was watching A New Hope in concert, and man, Owen sucks. I get it. he's just such an asshole.
Who sucks more, Owen or Druig?
Luke.
Wow.
Yeah. I said it way back when everybody was complaining about episode 8. I never really liked Luke. He's a whiny little bitch.
I like Luke in Return of the Jedi.
Nah, I don't even really care for him there. He's kind of like he gets a little bit arrogant too fast about being I am a Jedi.
I think he was arrogant in that. I thought actually just the opposite.
And Yoda's
he finally grew up in that one.
Nah, he's all high and mighty in that one, and it doesn't. It's just he goes too far the other way. It's just not. I can't stand Luke. I can't stand him. And then he goes back to form for episode 8.
Which is funny, considering how many people revolted over the fact that they loved Luke for so many years and that this wasn't their Luke.
This is the Luke. Luke is whiny. Luke sucks. That's Luke.
Yeah, we've talked about it a million times, but that was what would happen to Luke. Luke who finally grew up at the age of 50 when everything came crashing down around him because he realized, oh fuck, I've kind of been an arrogant asshole for most of my adult life.
Whiny Luke, he inherited that trait from whiny Anakin, and it was only reinforced by whiny Owen. He definitely didn't get enough. I think with Leia we maybe can see a little bit of both Padme and Anakin. Even if Padme was the more of it, I don't know that we got a lot of Padme in Luke. I think we got a lot of Anakin. Yeah,
he's a good pilot. He's strong in the Force, strongish in the Force. He's not nearly as strong as Anakin is. He is arrogant and whiny.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he got Padme's compassion. That's about it. It's a little bit more subtle. It's tough to pick out, but that's about it, I would say.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That makes sense. But just too whiny for my liking.
It's fair.
Can't stand his voice. When we were watching it, I don't know if I told you this last week when I brought up the concert, but during episode 4, Kim was watching it for the first time. She had not really seen the whole thing before, and she was like, oh my goodness, he is whiny. She's like, this is like if you were going on an adventure with me.
An interesting and rare bit of self-reflection by someone.
Yeah. And then every time he would whine, she started mimicking him, but it was great. Oh man! So when Rebels takes place after this stage of Obi-Wan, right?
Yes.
All right. So the Inquisitor's fine.
Yeah, I see a lot of people. How can you kill the Grand Inquisitor? He's in Rebels. It's like, guys, he ain't dead. Come on,
he's fine. So that's
like it's gonna end up being him who kills Reva. Like, come on.
Yeah. I'm just kind of curious, like what we're gonna see, like the lengths that we're gonna go. Like, what is Obi-Wan gonna end up doing? Like, I assume, like they keep showing you the lightsaber. They keep like, oh, like. Is he gonna use it? Then he ends up punching people in the face, which I think there's been a lot of hand to face combat in the last episode. But I am curious, like I feel like they're gonna build this up over and over again. I feel like he doesn't turn the lightsaber on until like the final episode of the limited series.
Well, I feel like he's not gonna turn it on until he absolutely has to, like when he's faced with another person wielding a lightsaber.
Probably one of the Inquisitors.
Yeah,
I would assume so.
I like that he used drugs in a positive way.
That was so cool.
It turns out that the street urchin
death sticks.
I was thinking about that the whole time. It turns out that person who sold him the drugs is Ewan McGregor's daughter in real life.
Huh. Wait, is it really? How old is she?
I have no idea, but that's his daughter.
I have to ask. So one of our friends used to babysit his kids. And I'd be curious if that's one of the kids that she babysat.
Oh, you should babysit Ewan McGregor's kids.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I'll have to ask her to watch it and let me know if that's one of them. That's cool though. I love little things like that.
It was cool to see Obi-Wan use a blaster again, considering his hatred for blasters, how uncivilized they are. But if you cut yourself off on the Force, I suppose you have to.
Yeah.
Star Wars really seems to like parkour in the TV shows.
Yeah. Okay, that was another scene that I was like, relax. Like the way that you are jumping from building to building is wildly inefficient. Just step over the crack.
The problem I had, two things. One, we saw it some with the last show with Fennec Shand using the parkour again in a positive way, like for actual utility.
Yeah, she had to she was like scaling a vertical building. Like it was ridiculous.
My biggest issue with this scene though, or sequence was, it felt a little bit like Monty Python last week. The scene when when what's his name was way too far away from the castle and kept cutting back. He keeps looping back, and then he's just there stabbing the guy. Like that's what it felt like, because it felt like Riva parkouring was totally divorced from what was actually going on in that sequence. Yeah,
that was ridiculous. It was
because she doesn't arrive at the battle.
No,
Obi-Wan somehow resolves his shootout on top of the roofs without us seeing what came about, and he just walks down the alley to save Leia, who he had used the Force to save her while being shot at. She lands safely, and then they cut to just him down in the alleyway, not understanding what happened with the two people who pinned him down the rooftop.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, interspliced with all of those scenes was another scene of Riva jumping over a nondescript rooftop, and we'd never see the payoff to that either. She catches up to them well down the line.
Yeah.
I assume she parkoured the whole way to the transport station.
Naturally.
I wish we had seen more parkour at that point. Continue showing me her not getting there, but then she just arrives right after them, because it didn't make any sense to have that and not have any context for where in the city she was.
I'll give them one piece of that is that when they did show her from the big, when she sees the blaster or what the explosion, and it is really far away.
Okay, but then at one point when you show it for the third time, show how the gunfire's slightly closer. How about that?
No, they show it again really far away, just like you were expecting.
I know, and that's what I'm saying.
It was a combination between that scene from Monty Python and also Schmidt.
Schmidt, which one?
From New Girl.
No, I understand.
Parkour, when he would run up the front.
I was expecting a specific reference, but yes.
Parkour. Oh, man. Yeah, only to get there just in time for Obi-Wan to not. Oh, when he reconnects for that moment and saves Leia just before she splats on the ground.
I was going to say before she Gwen Stacy's, but okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Andrew Garfield was a Jedi, her neck snaps. But that was really cool, though. He's trying and it's not working yet. And he's realizes he has to really center and focus himself and reconnect to do it. And he does, and he pulls it off. And it's that's the moment where he where everything kind of reopens. And it's what they say, the Jedi hunt themselves type of situation. He can't let this happen. Obviously, I don't know. Yeah. So that was pretty wonderful. And Leia was like, "Holy shit, you are a Jedi."
I've been seeing some people complain about Leia so far in the show. I think some of those complaints are valid. I think a lot of them aren't. I think some people have misunderstood, or maybe I'm overreading into it, but I don't think I am. I saw some complaint about her being another precocious child who's wise beyond her years, blah blah blah. Which, fine, fair. Except, I thought that was pretty obviously her subconsciously using the Force to read people. Because she never actually realizes she's a Jedi by the time she's an adult. It takes Luke telling her that she has the Force, because she never used it in any practical way. But it seemed pretty obvious to me that she is using the Force to read people's intentions in a way that the average person cannot. And to me, that makes that totally justifiable and understandable.
Yeah, she's got this extra layer of awareness that you don't normally have. Yeah, I agree.
If she was a character who we did not know was Force sensitive, then I agree it would be that trope just again and again, and that's fine. It's slightly annoying if that was the case, but considering the context, I'm totally good with it. I think that's a very cool and intentional way to do that, to show, that's how she became such a savvy political agent over the course of her life, because she didn't even realize she was doing it her whole life. She had no idea she was a Jedi. And she's clearly been using those powers to sense and read things that other people are not aware of.
Yeah.
That being said, something I didn't quite think about exactly. Something I was thinking about subconsciously, and then came to the forefront while I was listening today too. Amin brought back the rule of 2 for the run of Obi-Wan on Mystery Crate with the Meadowlark network, and they were talking about the chase scenes that heavily featured Leia running, and they probably shouldn't have featured so many chase scenes on a young actress who seems to struggle with running in a way that is convincing. I saw they compare it to the street hooligans Vespa chase in Book of Boba Fett. It was incredibly slow paced. There's very little action to justify such a chase scene. You know what? Fair enough. Although
true.
it's tough to ask a 9-year-old actress to run around convincingly when adults are chasing her.
Yeah, that's fine. So that is kind of funny. Oh man. So that's 2 episodes of 7, 9,
6.
6. That's it. Oh no.
I believe so. Yeah,
Well, that's probably good.
third of the way done. So,
Wow. I'm gonna burn right through this, but very much enjoying it. Like, really looking forward to the next episode, which is already out, which is great. And I also kind of want to dig through the attic and find the original Xbox Obi-Wan game.
We've talked about it a few times in the past year.
Yeah, classic game.
You want to do some other consumption?
Let's do some consumption. What do you watch? What are you consumpting?
Wow. So I will do just a quick update on. I have seen the first 2 severances. Still very much enjoying. I thought it's cool how they kind of backfilled some of what happened before the first episode to give that greater context, and getting to see them all truly in their atmosphere within the office, and then also getting a better idea of some of what's going on outside of the office without advancing the storyline a ton. I kind of liked that pause in the propulsive nature of it to really build out that world. Very much looking forward to finishing that as well. I also finished The Blood of Elves and began the 4th book of the Witcher series, The Time of Contempt. And I very much appreciated the moment in the first chapter in which someone said the line. I did the Peter Griffin, they said it. Where someone said to Geralt something about, you can't look down on everyone else around you with such contempt. This is a time of contempt. And I was like, ha! He said it.
This is the clear and present danger.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
but
amazing.
I really like where that series is going so far. It's been very intriguing. So
Cool.
I'm definitely excited to continue to carry on with that. What about you? What else are you watching?
So aside from Obi-Wan, Kim and I really just burned through Stranger Things for part 1.
So this is only part 1?
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing. So
Is this the final season?
There is going to be one more season.
Okay.
That'll be the final one. But this season is long. The episodes are...
Did they break it up into 3 or something like that?
Just 2 parts.
Oh, just 2? Okay.
But it's 7 episodes and 2 episodes.
That's weird.
Except that the next episode, the next 2 are dropping in July. I think it's July 1st or something like that. The first one of those 2 is an hour and a half, and the second one is 2.5 hours. They're feature-length episodes.
I don't approve of this. This is chicanery.
That's excellent. Because Stranger Things is amazing. And season 4, they have somehow managed to recapture all of the incredible feels that they got in the first season. They it's been great the whole way through. I've really enjoyed 2 and 3 as well, but season 1 has a specific vibe that they have somehow managed to recapture now. And it's while also keeping it fresh. They're doing some new things. They definitely go a little bit over the top on other pieces of it, which is, at this point, they kind of have to keep it fresh and interesting, which is fine. And I just we were so hooked episode to episode. It's just so entertaining. The way, there's a lot of laughs to be had in this very dark, horror thriller show that you're watching. And it also pulls on, almost anything that you can imagine from 80s media and culture. They work its way into the show, but they do it kind of naturally into the storytelling in such a great way. Not a reference for a reference's sake, like a lot of the Ready Player One stuff is. It's more so structured around a very specific time, and it all works really well. Like there's they managed to do all sorts of like different genres of horror movies, like get to work their way into the storytelling and how everything executes without like you could see like, okay, this is a reference to that, this is a reference to that, but it all works so well together in the way that it's executed. I'm kind of just blown away that they're able to pull it off, and I really don't know what they're like, where they're gonna go. I'm assuming that they make the stakes feel so high that I'm assuming that one of my favorites will eventually be killed.
Of course.
And a number of times it's gotten really close to like, oh no, that person, and then they make it through, and I'm like, oh thank God. And but how many times is that going to happen? I feel like somebody's going by the end of this season, and I'm worried. I'm so worried.
Well, considering some of the age of the cast, I wouldn't be surprised at this point if that's the way it goes eventually, right?
Yeah, I don't know. What was really amazing is that they did a couple of flashbacks to the first season, like for different effects, like whether it was like reminiscing about something or whatnot. But it's like, oh my God, my little babies are all grown up. They've changed so much over the years. It's crazy. But I mean, it makes sense if you consider like the age group that they are in, and like they're growing up with the show. It's really incredible. I think that you really got to watch it. I think you'll enjoy it.
I'll have to see about getting around to it.
It's a fun watch, man. It's just like it captures a vibe that is just not done anymore. Like it's like not for the sake of making like a nostalgic show, but like, no, this is the style that we like, so we made a movie in that. Like we said it in that time frame because it makes sense if you're trying to do it that way. But like, I don't know, it all works so well. The music. I don't know if you probably have seen some things about this, but one of the main songs that's played a lot in the series has like retopped the charts for a song that came out in the early 80s.
Yeah, running up that hill. I saw the past couple of days the story about it charting for the first time.
It's pretty awesome.
It's a good song.
It's a good song. And like,
so I understand why people rediscovering it or discovering it for the first time now if it was outside their
and then generation. Playing that song in context to like when it matters in the show, because it has actually playing that song means something during the season, but they'll also like do an instrumental version of it here and there, or like a slow version of it's like playing in the background, like as we're creeping up to something where it's going to become important again. Like everything is just so well thought out, and I just can't wait to see where it goes. And it's just so fun. It's just like this wild adventure, and these kids are so goddamn brave. It's like I would absolutely not make it. I'd be dead like in a second. Not these kids. They're fantastic.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad people are enjoying it all. I really don't, as much as I kind of chafed at it for a couple of years, like ultimately, like it doesn't really matter that much, I guess. If the quality of the content is actually good, it doesn't really matter my kind of inclination towards feeling like what the origin for it was, being somewhat cynical. Like if it's a legitimately good thing, then who cares?
Yeah.
My objection to what you said before is if you're going to release a season and then a couple of movies, just do it that way. This is season 4. Following season 4 will be 2 movies that will lead into the final season 5. Like, it's just weird. Or cut it up to be a season or half a season of show. Like, it's just odd. That's a nitpick. It doesn't really matter. It's just like, for accounting purposes, it seems a bit
If
odd.
you watch it, which you should at some point, I think you'll probably understand, because what happened is like they just didn't bind themselves to a time limit for the specific portion of the story they were telling, which I think was great. Like all of this is very much season 4, including what the next 2 episodes will be. But like some episodes were like 40 minutes and some episodes were over an hour. And it's like, it was just like, this is the portion of the story we're telling right now. It takes this much time to do all of the things that we want to do. And I guess they were given that freedom because of the success of the show, I would imagine. And they really went for it, because they like some of the longer I think the last episode of the first part was like an hour and 20, an hour and a half. And it's just like, it doesn't feel that way when you're watching it, because they have a lot to say and do and get through. And it's like, Oh, so I want to watch it again. I loved it so much.
So you finished the whole thing that dropped already?
Oh yeah, we burned through it real quick. I kind of want to. I want to start from season 1 while I'm waiting for July to come around.
It's a lot.
Yeah, but it would be worth it. God, it's so. Anyway, that's mostly what I'm. It's that and Obi-Wan since we last spoke.
I got a couple other little things then, and one other big thing. So just apropos of, I hadn't seen it in a while, and it happened to be on while I was doing a bunch of stuff in the kitchen, and I threw on some Superbad. I got to watch most of that movie, and so I always love that movie. It's always a good time.
Hell yeah.
There's just so many little stupid things in that. You know, it's the same with a movie. Sometimes I won't say like, oh, I see something new, but sometimes I kind of like just appreciate a thing more that I feel like wasn't the biggest laugh for me the first couple times I saw it, or maybe like the context of something is like it really clicks for me for the first time. It's like, okay, you know, it's good. It's fun. I just like how funny that movie is for the first like 45 minutes or so. Like it's just like nonstop.
It really is.
Like to be able to sustain that in that way, and then to become a real legitimate movie, you know, after that.
Yeah, it's like joke after joke after joke, and the line delivery is so fast and so quick, and they just it's hysterical. And then like you said, and then it's like, oh, also plot. Like wait, what?
Like there's some of the interactions that are almost kind of like, I know we talked about it in recent weeks with like Mammoth like stuff, and what was the movie we were talking about a couple of weeks ago that made us think about Glenn Ross? I don't even remember what it was now. Was it the movie we were doing?
Reservoir Dogs.
Oh yeah, Reservoir Dogs. There were some interactions like specifically between like Seth and Evan, and even Seth, Evan, and Fogel, like where it's like this feels like it's out of like that's got that same DNA where it's just like this really lived in like realistic interaction between these 3 17-year-old idiots. Like those are absolute conversations I either had or witnessed when I was that age. Like it just felt so authentic, and also add on to that it's hilarious too.
Yep. The one that one of those like very subtle ones that always gets me is when he's playing the video game, and it's like, oh, like why even make it if you can't win?
I've had that exact conversation where I've almost thrown my controller. Like, you know, come on, this is fucking bullshit game. Like, the one that the sequence that always gets me, not in that sense, but just like. What part of what makes this movie so special is that they could just jump into this totally surreal fantasy where he goes and thinks of his different options, trying to get alcohol. Where you know he's going to rob the alcohol, and the security guard is going to kill him with the jagged shard of his broken glass bottle. You know, the 80-year-old woman who is, you know, oh, would you like me to buy alcohol for you? Yeah. I love that. You know, it's the weird pelvic thrust he does with the hand like gyrations.
Yes.
That would be lovely.
Yeah.
And she doesn't enjoy your remaining years. I will. And you enjoy fucking Jules. I will. Yeah, the scene where he goes up and also all that. Yeah, he goes up and they don't ask him for an ID. And he goes, "How old are you?" And he goes, 21. You sure are. He goes, "Oh, okay." He goes, "That'll be $80." He goes, "Oh, fantastic!" And he whips an $80 bill out of his sleeve.
Oh,
that sequence is gold. It's absolute gold.
Oh my god, that whole movie is so much fun.
There was another one of those super lines where like I know I've heard it before, I know I've chuckled at it before, but like just really got me in watching it because I kind of forgot about the line was when Fogel brings the fake ID to them for the first time. And, you know, it's McLovin. You know, no one's named McLovin. You know, they go after it and everyone knows, you know, remembers all those lines. But the one that gets me is, what are you, an Irish R&B singer?
Oh, my God. And he just gets decked in the face while he's buying the... Oh, my God.
Oh, it's
I have a little bottle of spermicidal lube.
Becca's gonna be so hot for you if you have a bottle of spermicidal lube.
And you know all of the one-liners in that movie, like as well, like just like the quotables. We're blood brothers, like all of that stuff. Just so it's so ridiculous. I love
the one that me and my sister always do is the scene when, and I love the call and response when Joe Trulio, the creepy guy who hits Evan and then
You
brings
guys
him
got
to the party.
Facebook?
Well, all of that is terrible and hilarious, but he goes, "You look just like my buddy's brother Jimmy or whatever." And then later when they're at the party and the fight's about to go off, and he goes, "Oh, you're Jimmy's brother or whatever," and he goes, "Yeah," and he goes, "The singer."
Sing for us.
That callback is phenomenal.
Yep.
Like it seemed like such a stupid throwaway line, like 20 minutes earlier in the movie, and he doesn't. But what really gets me about that whole scene that me and my sister always do is the creepy guy sitting at the table. He goes, "Hey, you want a lot of cocaine?" "No." "Yeah."
You want to do some cocaine? No. Yeah.
No, not some cocaine. "Do you want a lot of cocaine?" It's a very specific line that we always crack up at.
Yeah.
Not do you want some cocaine or do you want to do cocaine? It's, "Hey, do you want a lot of cocaine?" is what he asks him.
It's so good. One of the ones that always cracks me up too is when McLovin finally gets to the party, and he's in the room with the girl. Oh my god, it's it!
Even that when he's walking down the hall and he's following
Yeah, and he just says what time it is.
Not just that, which is hilarious, but they zoom in on him staring at her ass, and then they cut out, and they're the only people in the hallway, and he's standing 4 feet behind her.
Yeah,
it's so fucking creepy.
It's awkward. Oh my god.
It's 10:30. He just walks away.
Oh man, God, what did we could definitely do that. I haven't watched that movie start to finish in a long time.
I know, I didn't even get to. I got to watch probably about 40% or so of the movie, basically the middle third of the movie.
And then Seth Rogen and Bill Hader playing the cops, so good. Yeah. So, and the crazy drunk guy. Another one that gets me is just when he goes, "Blue guys," and he runs.
My favorite is when he's slightly more sober on the bus later, and he goes, "Hey, you, McMuffin," because he couldn't remember his name. But yeah, no. Some of the best lines in the movie were delivered by the two cops. Yeah, prepare to be fucked by the long dick of the law. What's having a gun like? It's like having two cocks, except one of them can shoot people.
Oh man.
We shouldn't have been blocking your cock. We should have been guiding your cock.
They just all become friends.
Yeah.
Also, the scene where what is it? Who's carrying who?
When Seth is carrying Evan out at the end of the party.
Is carrying out? No, isn't it carrying him to the party with the Tide bottles full? The Tide things.
No, separate things.
Oh, he gets hit by the car at that point.
He got hit by the car for the second time in that movie by the cops.
Yes.
But no, at the end of the party, I forgot what happens to. I think does he just get fucked up and pass out? I don't remember. But the cops show up and Seth picks Evan up and carries him out like heroically, and they run off into the night, and then they end up going and sleeping at one of their houses, and they make up after having been fighting. Yeah, he boops him.
Honestly, like the movie can end there and be like really funny, but I love that they wrap it up with them reconnecting with the girls in the mall afterwards and the black eye.
Black eye.
So stupid. I love it. It's really, there's nothing like it. So good. Is that all for your consumption?
I have one other thing that's not super important because we've been running pretty long, but I have another thing that's much more important that we must get to. And it's the return of the Shutdown Fullcast.
Oh, gosh.
Prompts the return of the weekly Fullcast update. So, after a long, protracted battle that they were not inclined to talk about for the last few months, apparently their show had been owned by Vox. They were being very much undercut by them. They've spared most of the details in regards to that. They have officially fully joined both of their shows to the Meadowlark Empire. Today was their glorious return, and it was glorious. The return of the only college football podcast on the internet. Spent 14 seconds talking about football today in an hour-long episode in which they drafted all of the best days in history that were June 1st. Some of the highlighted ones. So apparently, it was the 4 hosts, Jason Kirk, Spencer Hall, Holly Anderson, Ryan Nanny, who's returned from his paternity leave, though he was fighting COVID on his glorious return to the glorious return of the Shutdown Fullcast, and also I think it's Michael Serber, the producer. The five of them were supposed to research June 1sts of history, and only like 2.5 of them did that. So it was just, let's pick a year, and Holly saying, okay, I'm going to find you the closest year or the most interesting year that's within a stone's throw of that year. Some of the highlights included, the episode was titled Horse Girls versus Balloon Boys, and that's because apparently someone established that June 1st, 4000 BC was when the horse was first domesticated.
Okay.
Which prompted questions as to the specificity of, can we determine that there was a single day that horses were domesticated? And if so, how did they determine that it was June 1st?
Right.
That year specifically. It's a fantastic conversation that spawned off some running jokes throughout the episode, including the fact that that was what prompted the first of the horse girls, and that anyone could be a horse girl. Specifically that Genghis Khan is a noteworthy horse girl. And a separate conversation at some point was something along the lines of, I think it was the first ever, during World War I, it was the first ever bombing of someone by a Zeppelin. Germany bombed London with a Zeppelin.
What are you not getting? Pretty much the core concept.
Oh, yes. Exactly. Yeah, it was a devastating day in history. 2 people died during this Zeppelin air raid.
Oh, God.
Don't worry, there was a much more intimidating raid later that day by another group of Zeppelins in which they killed another 2 people. And so it turned into this whole thing about the German army and the schisms within the ranks about who supported the Zeppelins versus who supported any other way to try to strike fear into the hearts of your enemies, including one person saying, why don't we just crash the Zeppelin into the city? Surely that will do more damage. Whether or not it might not be more terrifying to smuggle in a person on a horse with a knife or a gun, and that surely would have resulted in more than 2 casualties. Why not just drop some horses and people from the Zeppelin? That's got to do something as well. And whether or not an army of horse girls would defeat very large balloons filled with hydrogen and such. It was a glorious episode. Some other highlights from June 1st of history was the execution of Adolf Eichmann, the rescue of 7 sailors off of the Cape of Good Hope, New Hope, whichever one it is in Africa.
But was their ship arrested?
Ship was not arrested. Many sailors were saved by a Dutchman on the back of a horse. Tragically, on the rescuing of the 8th person, the man and his horse both drowned.
Oh my God.
Yes. The horse's name was Vonk.
Oh. Rip, Vonk. Rip.
It was a very sad story, but heroic as well. Although that man and his horse that man and his horse were publicly castigated by people who were upset that he didn't save more of the money that was crashed from the ship crashing, but then ultimately loaded for saving many lives before he and his horse drowned. Which also prompted, I think, probably the funniest line in the whole thing, in which the final thought flashing through Vonk's head was, "You should have never bent the knee 4,000 years ago."
God.
Et cetera, so on, with so many other fun stories from
That's fun.
Many years of history. It's a fantastic episode. I encourage you, if you're looking for something that's just a hilarious hour, listen to it. You literally don't need to know anything at all about football to enjoy that episode.
Love it.
And that's how a lot of their off-season episodes tend to be, it seems. So, where else could you learn about boat crime and horse taming and
sure,
and balloon warfare?
Balloon warfare. Nice. All right. Well, with that, let us get into our flick of the week. Scream, re-released in 2022. 25 years after a streak of brutal murders shocked the quiet town of Woodsboro, California, a new killer dons the ghost face mask and begins targeting a group of teenagers to resurrect secrets from the town's deadly past. That's your IMDb synopsis. I was very blown away when I put the movie on and saw that it was a Paramount Plus exclusive.
I had forgotten that that's what they were doing with it, but it did sound familiar once I saw that. Yes.
I mean, it makes sense, but I was surprised. But why don't you give me your hot take? Actually, before you do that, how many Screams have you seen?
I've seen this one in the original.
Oh, that's it. That's probably all you need to really see then. That's good.
Yeah, I did a quick perusal of the internet to see, is there anything I need to know?
Yeah.
And I found an article that was basically, what do you need to know?
Yeah.
And there was like 2 or 3 little nuggets of things. I'm sure that having seen the other ones would have probably helped to some extent, but not worth the amount of time it would have taken to do it. I will say, though, you said, in the town of Woodsboro. And they said that name of the town many times in this movie.
Mm.
And I've seen the original Scream all the way through, probably 2 or 3 times,
sure.
plus bits and pieces of it a few more times. You could not have paid me a sum of money that would have made me remember what the name of that town.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't think I would have remembered either.
Also, before we continue on with the official conversation around the movie, I mentioned to you the other day that you Krugered me in the most unexpectedly funny way.
Yeah.
So we might as well dive into that now. So, this past weekend was my sister's birthday, your mom's birthday, back-to-back days. Happy birthday to the assorted ladies of the D'Amico clan.
It sounds like something. Is it a group?
Like
is it like a D&D group?
I was thinking more like the title of some like HBO Max show or something like that. But anyway, so for Gianna's birthday, her boyfriend in secret got a bunch of her friends to come from the far corners of the area.
They came in from Woodsboro?
No, the area surrounding us. Under the false pretense that he was taking her out to dinner, they all met up and had a dinner and a night out in Beacon. So
you're telling me Gianna's boyfriend's a liar?
Wow, that is from a certain point of view. As positive a lie as one can have, I suppose. The same night, me and...
Next time I see him. So I hear you're a liar. What?
The same night, me and Dominic and some of his friends went out to a separate place in Beacon, so we ended up meeting up with them, which was cool. We had a nice time. It was very late. But we were introduced to one of Gianna's friends who she had mentioned several times before, but had never been present. It's a girl from the UK who went to college with them, still lives in the area, and her name is Neve. Neve. And so, because she lives in the city, she was staying up for a couple of days. She was around the next day. It was the Sunday Memorial Day weekend. So some of Gianna's friends came over for the pool. It was a gorgeous sunny day, so we were all outside, did some barbecuing, had a big dinner for her. We were in the pool during the day. And so all of us were talking to Neve some. We'd seen her the night before. So, my brother talked to her some that night. She was talking more to, my parents during that day. My dad kept calling her Nev.
Sure.
And I was like, you do realize that she wasn't in a horror movie in the 90s, right? You are aware of that? Then the next day, you picked this movie, and it wasn't until it didn't even make the recognition of it until I sat down to watch the movie, just reading the synopsis, and I was like, oh my god, I literally just made this joke 24 hours ago.
That's great. Oh man, what's your hot take? Well, I will say I know you didn't see the ones in between. It doesn't matter at all. But this is not what these movies are about anyway. So. What's your tweet like?
Just clever enough of a requel to keep its head above water. It's the only type of horror movie I actually like. One grafted onto another genre, mystery in this case, and not supernatural. 6 out of 10.
All right, cool. We're pretty much in alignment here. A completely self-aware homage to an homage, but even if the acting is terrible by design, it makes the entire movie cringeworthy. 6 out of 10.
I don't know if the acting was terrible.
Oh,
hang on. There was definitely,
you don't know if the acting was terrible?
I'm not saying it was good. I'm just saying, I didn't find it to be noteworthy bad, I guess is the point I was making.
The lead was bad.
I guess it depended on the scene.
And her sister. They were both bad.
The sister wasn't great. The one big heartfelt scene between the two of them I actually thought was good, and I thought they were both pretty good in it. But other than that,
I did not.
You could take or leave it for the most part. I like Jack Quaid in general. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah.
I thought that the legacy characters came back and did their jobs, but they're long-established professional actors.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the girl who played Mindy, whose name I'm forgetting the actress. I thought she did a good job in that role, who was reprising the role of her uncle from the original movie.
Right.
Also,
Jasmine Savoy Brown? Savoy?
And the hilarious part was the whole time I was like, why do I know her? I'm literally picturing her in another role. She smiled 0 times in that role as opposed to the many times she smiled in this one. She had glasses on. I said, I cannot figure out why I'm picturing her and I can't place it. Looked her up finally. I was like, oh, duh. She was in the fucking season 2 of The Leftovers. Fairly important character. And I was like, I know this girl from something.
I know you.
She was good in that. I thought she was good in this too for what they asked her to do. But yeah, I mean, no one's winning an Oscar for this movie. Wasn't the girl who played the lead, wasn't she the one who presented the Oscar for the girl from West Side Story? Wasn't she in that? Wasn't she the sister in that?
Was she?
I was like, why do I know this girl? And I looked her up. I was like, oh, okay, it's her. Isn't she the one who presented to the girl who won from West Side Story?
Maybe. I don't remember who presented. Maybe it was her?
I think that's what it was. The name seemed familiar.
I was happy to see Dewey return. Always loved
it. Dewey or Huey?
Dewey. I actually, I actually had some note about Huey in here. I had Dewey calling that it was Huey right in the beginning.
Yeah.
It was pretty great. But on top of that, in the first scene with him, I was like, oh, I know that guy. He's dead. That's generally how it goes in horror movies, right? Like, oh, I recognize this actor. Probably going to die.
Wait, which one?
Huey.
Oh, okay.
And this was literally the first scene that he was on the screen. And Kim was like, or he's the killer. And I was like, oh my god, of course he is.
Spoiler alert. Or both.
Or both. Indeed. Yeah. Why not both?
Why not both?
Yeah.
Also, I have one other quick note on just like everyone who's in this movie. So, like Jack Quaid obviously was Dennis Quaid's son, right?
Sure.
Isn't he?
I have no idea.
In searching,
I can believe that without looking.
After having watched watched the whole movie and searching around the cast of characters to figure out who everyone was, I had no idea that Mindy's brother Chad is Cuba Gooding's son.
Really?
Yes, that was in the IMDb. I was like, oh shit, I had no idea.
Oh, that's cool. What's his name?
Something Gooding.
Mason.
Yes.
He was in one of those teen movies that we watched like not that long ago, and I can't remember which one it was. Oh, it was the Christmas one. It's really good.
Yes.
Let It Snow. Jeb.
Oh no, I was thinking of something else. He was in, and I don't remember him in the role now that I think about it, but I did recognize him from something. He was in I Want You Back, that movie I talked about a couple of months ago, from the Amazon movie with Charlie Day and Jenny Slate.
Right.
He was in that, which I don't remember him specifically. I'm guessing he was from... I'm pretty sure I remember the scene. I just don't remember him specifically. But yeah, I had no idea that was Cuba Gooding's son.
Yeah, me neither. That's cool. So I was trying to remember. Did they ever... Like, I know that, like, over the years, we've come to reference the mask as Ghostface, but they made a point of saying it like 700 times in this movie, and I'm pretty sure I feel like it was intentionally because it was never actually said in the past.
Well, my guess would be that was something that was mentioned in one of the successive movies, because I'm pretty sure they don't explicitly call it that in the original one. They may say, oh, the mask looks like a ghost or something. I don't remember, but I don't think they specifically called it Ghostface in the original one. But I guess it would be that was something from one of the sequels.
Sure. I also always thought it was funny that like a scary movie is a spoof on all scary movies, and they had this face with the tongue out and all that. Yet the original one was
a parody of all the
yeah, which is just so funny. Like I just love that. It's almost like they missed the joke. They made a joke about it, but this one was like, I really thought they did a really good job of being like very tongue in cheek about like what they were doing, and like narrating what was happening in the movie as the movie was happening.
There was some definitely some shared DNA with the 21, 22 Jump
Yeah.
movies.
Yep.
Like specifically the scene where they try and all get together for the first time and talk about the fact that this is probably emulating not only the original Scream but the Stab movies, which was I thought was a great running joke within this, that there was a series of movies called Stab that were made to reflect what had happened in the movie universe, and that was in a movie called Scream. It was because, obviously someone's been running around with a giant knife for all this time, stabbing the shit out of people.
Yep.
And on the subject of stabbing people, brief aside, not having seen any of the sequels, I thought this was by far like much more like brutal than the original one. Like there was plenty of fake blood in the original one, but like the specifics of us seeing people get stabbed in a particular place and way seemed much more visceral than the original.
Yeah, I actually, that is something I clocked from the originals being also very brutal.
Sure, but like specifically like in the opening scene when Tara's getting
the leg
knifed up,
got me.
When he stomps on the leg, and then when she goes to defend herself and he stabs right through her hand. Like I don't recall there being stuff like that.
Yeah, not to that degree, because we weren't using any sort of visual effects.
Well, and that's what it is. I think it was a choice of, hey, we can do some more things that look fairly convincing with both practical and with some CGI stuff. So.
But I do remember in the second Scream, I think it's in like the movie theater, the guy puts his ear to one of the bathroom stalls, and the knife comes through it and out the other side. And I remember being like, "Oh my god!"
And that explains the scene from Scary Movie 2
with the dick. Yeah.
Yes.
But I can't remember for sure. But I'm wondering that, like, in thinking back on it, it's been. I mean, I don't think I've seen Scream 2 since it came out. So
now, was it a knife or was it a claymore sword? Because I feel like there's no knife big enough to go through a stall.
It was a knife. It was
both sides of someone's head.
It was
a very narrow head.
It was this is a knife.
Well, all of the Scream movies have featured a "this is a knife."
Yeah.
But like, I don't even know if a machete is long enough to go.
Yeah, I don't remember if it comes out the other side.
Okay,
but
it probably did. But just considering again that reference,
sure,
in Scary Movie 2.
But if I remember correctly, which is I probably don't, I think they are at the movies to see Stab.
Oh, okay, that would make sense.
And a couple of people get killed there. I kind of want to rewatch. I have the original, which is a classic.
I legitimately really like the original.
It's good.
I think the reason I only actually like that compared to so many of those other slasher flicks is there's something about, even though like in a like kind of a psychological way, the fact that it's quote unquote realistic probably should terrify me even more than like because supernatural like scary movies don't like scare me. I just end up being kind of bored with them.
Yeah.
But I think that the fact that it's real people makes the stakes real in the movie, which is what makes it much more thrilling. I think the fact that
maybe.
Oh, wait, this person might survive this encounter. Oh, they didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, this person might survive. Oh, hey, look, they survived. And maybe they get killed 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later. But the point is, like, it seems like there's a chance to fight back, whether it be to foil the plan and someone else gets killed 5 or 10 minutes later. and as I was saying in my hot take, in addition to that, like the Scream movies, as much as they are a slasher and a dark comedy because it's a parody of slashers, they're deployed as a mystery.
Yeah.
And that is enough to keep me at least interested in something that ultimately I typically wouldn't be super interested in. The fact that, who is the killer? As I'm trying to figure out all along who it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, that sort of stuff is fascinating to me as opposed to some of these other movies where it's like, you know who the villain is. The villain can't be killed or thwarted or defeated in any way, shape, or form. I just find those to be ultimately fairly tired. Something like this at least has a chance to keep me interested.
Yeah. There's a couple of things I was curious about, like at the end when it all unravels, like they basically like that the plan all along was to get them back to the Loomis house and you know end it there. But in the hospital was Ghostface not legitimately trying to kill the sister? I don't understand that part of it. Was that a botched attempt intentionally?
Well, you can't rule out that maybe they had multiple versions of their plan.
What about my ending?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, because one wonders whether if he had succeeded or she had succeeded in killing Sam in that scene, does that get Gail and Sydney to show up? Because ultimately the point was to get them to do it. But really, they wanted to pin it on Sam. So you got to make it convincing to keep her sticking around and scare the crap out of all of them. Because you got to imagine there's a certain amount of value in just the psychological warfare aspect of, maybe you knife them just to get the attention off of them slightly, because that made the whole intrigue of the movie and the mystery more interesting. It becomes this whole very meta thing, right? And okay, you slow them down, so next time when we do actually need to kill you in earnest, it's a little easier because you can't really defend yourself at this point, right?
Sure. I loved the one thing that really cracked me up was at the end, the fact that they committed to the bit and they did it over and over again, was when the one girl goes downstairs to get beer and the other one is there when she closes the door.
Well, it was such a thing from so many slashers, such a thing specifically from the first Scream, and actually, even to piggyback off of that, my favorite scene in the whole movie is when they keep doing the anticlimax of Wes doing it over and over again, and him not being there, because they keep doing the music swell too.
Yeah.
They keep shooting it in a very particular way where you're just like, oh, here's the thing where he opens the door and he's going to close it. Oh, he's not there. And then he goes, oh, here he is. He's going to lean down into the cabinet. Oh, no, okay, he's not there this time either. Surely the next time. And they do it 8 times, and by the time, it was almost like a Family Guy joke. By the time they did it the last time, I'm just laughing. I'm not even laughing at it. I'm laughing with it, because it's like, I see what you're doing here. That's clever.
That's self-aware stuff.
And then they finally have him reveal and kill him. And it's like, okay, we're done with that now.
Slowly and brutally. But when they did that, I definitely felt like Lois in that the skit with the doctor and Family Guy. Please, no more shtick.
So much shtick.
Oh man, and I had to keep looking them up because like I said, 2, 3, and 4. I had only seen once when they came out. The first one I've seen a couple of times, but the others just one. So there was a number of people that were characters in those older movies that West.
That's what I figured.
For example,
and that was the one thing I thought maybe I would be value in that.
Yeah,
I definitely don't remember all the names of the other characters from the original one, but it's a little weird that we never see Sarah and Tara's mom.
Okay, so me and Kim were joking about this one a lot. I was like, after the sister, or what's her name, when Sam,
or Sam, I said Sarah.
When she goes back to see her sister and everything, I was like, wait a minute. When she arrives at the hospital and they're all talking, they're reconnecting. I turned to go, I was like, wait, Wes called Sam to tell her that this happened and not her parents, and then Kim goes, because she was stuck at a conference. Could you imagine? Could you imagine not coming back home to your daughter who was almost murdered?
Well, and that's why I was wondering if I misremembered. Part of this was because I watched it across 2 viewings. But I remember, in the very beginning, Tara was like, oh, my mom got held up somewhere. But I couldn't remember what it was, if it was a conference, if the flight was delayed or canceled or something like that. So I'm all along, I'm like, okay, it's been a few days, and you're we've seen Home Alone. Remember, the mother, jumping in the back of a van with someone who may or may not be the devil, who's played by, what's his name?
John Candy.
John Candy. I almost said Chris Farley, but obviously that's not who it was. John Candy.
The Polka King of the Midwest.
Yes. Polka King of the Midwest. Polka. Your daughter is nearly brutally murdered, and you don't drop everything to come home and take care of that situation, and then almost gets murdered again, and you're still at home, and also there's someone or someone's terrorizing both of your daughters.
Yeah.
Nothing. And also, the father. I know that the father wasn't Sam's. That was the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
That, was it Billy Loomis, right?
Yep.
Billy Loomis was her father, but that father it's Tara's father.
Yes.
He's not going to re-enter the picture when she's almost brutally murdered, or at any point in her life. You could wash your hands of the wife and the older girl if you want. It's probably not the right thing to do. It's certainly not Sam's fault that she's not his son or his daughter, but keep some sort of contact with the other one.
I wonder, like, does anybody know how to reach him?
Yeah, well, yeah, sure. It's probably an issue prior to the events of this movie where it seems like he's certainly not been a part of her life. They said something like he left. It's like, holy shit, dude, and like now your daughter's getting brutally almost murdered.
Yeah,
kind of fucked up. But yeah, it was a little weird. I have no idea who the mother was supposed to be. I'm sure it was supposed to be some like tertiary character from the original movie, but I don't know who that is.
Sorry, you cut out for a second. Who is?
Oh, I said the mother. I don't know who the mother.
Yeah, I was actually curious about that too. Like, I was assuming that what'll likely happen is the mother will come into play in the next one.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's got to be some character from probably the first one, right? If it's like someone in the background.
Well, they said the name, and she's not a character that's been on screen before.
Okay, but because they were saying that I didn't remember if they said the mother's first name, but obviously we had the girl's last name, so I assumed that there would be something in common if you dug through the IMDb or whatever.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. I was reading.
It was just odd, right? It was a little odd. Like
it's
like
very
you'd expect
odd.
even the final scene, maybe you're gonna call the voice on the line or something.
Like I was like, surely it's gonna be like one of the main characters from the original, right? Like it's got to be. But I guess we'll find. Probably this is gonna be a crossover. It'll be like, I don't know, someone from what was that? What was that movie with the witches from the 90s? The Curse? What was that one called?
Oh, I have no idea.
My God, why can't I remember what this movie was called? The Craft.
I don't know that one.
Oh man, that's another classic. In my searching, I found that not only was there going to be another Scream next year, but also there's a Final Destination 6 in pre-production.
I thought the Final Destination happened, didn't it?
It did. It did.
But yeah, I can't be terribly surprised. From what I've seen, I was surprised. I think maybe the critics' reviews of this weren't that strong, but from what I've heard, like the viewing audience seemed to really like this movie. Yeah. I thought it was fine.
It was entertaining for sure. Like I had no intention to turn it off during watching it. It was fine. Yeah. It was a Scream movie. One of the things Kim pointed out she was like, immediately was like, that's the original voice, like of the when he calls on the phone in the beginning. I was like, is it? Because I don't remember it. She's like, yeah, like that's the voice. And then,
I mean, it certainly was within the realm of that. I wouldn't have been able to place that. The voice did sound vaguely familiar. Maybe that's what I was recognizing. I was trying to place it like, oh, is that just like a modulated version of some like famous actor's voice? Because like I kind of wondered, there was something so familiar in it. I was wondering like, either was it going to be a reveal of someone like that we hadn't seen before, right, or someone who was from the first movie, or is it just going to be someone lent their voice talents for that, which would just be kind of cool. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a person, right? Because it's a modulated voice.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm kind of curious. Roger L. Jackson, I guess is the voice
that was the voice. I didn't look it up.
But yeah, and then I was like, oh, interesting. Like that it's that voice, and then like later on they show you that it has the modulator, and then of course they reveal the modulator at the very, very end. That was cool too. So I guess they, to try to stick with it. So that was fun. We had touched on it for a second, but back like in the whole going into the basement alone was like, well, you don't go alone. It's like, well, you can't trust me, like, because I'm the killer. That whole thing was hysterical. And then later on, when I want to keep saying Huey, but that's not his name, Richie. When Richie wants to, like,
yes.
Is there any beer? There's beer downstairs. Do you want to go with me? No. But you were right to ask.
That was a funny through line of all of that. I wasn't sure what direction we were going there in that basement scene with the two girls, because there was a lot of tension in that scene. They kept getting closer. I was like, oh, are we going to find out secretly the two of them have been an item, and is that going to come into play?
Yeah,
because it seemed like they were going that direction, and then they like quickly back off it. It was like, okay. And then Mindy goes back upstairs, and then she starts to hook up with some other girls. Like, okay, so I was right. There was something they were playing with the kind of, because there's often a fine line, right, with the slasher movies between the deadly and the erotic, right?
Yeah.
Like where it's like, obviously it was a part of the first Scream about the whole, you have to be a virgin. If you're not a virgin, if you have sex, you're going to die. Like, all that sort of stuff. So I was wondering if that was going to come into play. Like her or the girl she's hooking up with, are they going to get killed? But Mindy ends up surviving. The other girl leaves the party. So it didn't quite pay off in any way, shape, or form. But also, did the brother survive?
Yes.
I was very confused by that at the end. Like, she gives him a thumbs up, but he had the the respirator mask over his face, so I couldn't actually tell if that was him. I assumed it was him.
As the camera is cutting off, his hand goes up too with a thumbs up.
Sure, I just couldn't, because he was covered in blood. He's got clothes on. He's got the mask over his face. I was like, I want to say that's her brother, but I'm not 100% sure. Also, he seemed pretty definitively dead. He was stabbed so many times.
That there's so many times in the movie that I'm rolling my eyes going, oh my god, and like intentionally that's what they want you to do, but like specifically with the Find My Friends thing and like the phone beeping as it's getting closer, and I was like, Jesus Christ, and he can't mute it
because so much blood he can't turn it off. Although he actually did come up with a pretty good plan. If I just throw this really far away, surely I can buy myself some time. It just, as you're bleeding out because you've been had your femoral artery shorn, I guess you can't stumble far enough away. Although I have to say, right before that, I was infuriated by, okay, you're dumb enough to share your location with someone who you know is capable of cloning phones and obviously stabbing and stealing phones, and clearly this was a cloned phone situation, because to that point it seemed like there was a chance that maybe his girlfriend could have been involved. We find out very definitively she's not involved when she gets blown away.
Yeah. That shock value scene, that was good. That was good.
Yeah.
I'll give them that one. Also, she was so annoying at that point when they do that. It's shock value. You're also kind of like, okay, I could do without this character for the rest of the movie.
Sure, there was a chance for that storyline. I wonder what storyline ended up on the cutting room floor, because the whole aside with her ex from the fling from the summer before, that guy shows up. It's like, okay, surely he's an ominous presence meant to be a red herring, and then they kill him 4 minutes later, where he had zero attempt to be a part of the story. We don't revisit the angst of Chad having this specter of a former fling over his head or anything. That's just resolved very neatly with another noteworthy brutal stab to the jugular. Again, I just felt like not the amount of blood, but just the idea of stabbing someone
quick.
Same thing like when Wes got stabbed, when the thing goes through and out the back of the side of his neck. And that's just prosthetics. We've never seen quite that before, though. I thought, never having seen Scream 2, 3, and 4 or whatever, but whatever. But yeah, no, it was weird. That was a whole storyline that seemed like they set up and then they just threw aside. You might as well just cut the whole thing out of it. That guy had nothing to do with anything. Why was he one of the ones who was killed?
Body count.
Yeah, but everyone else who ends up getting killed is either it's a cop or someone who's protecting someone who they're trying to get to, or someone who is directly tied to this group of people.
I wonder if it was they want them all to be in the house at the end, and this guy is causing friction and a problem, and we just need to get him out of the way to make sure that. Yeah.
But even the girlfriend, what do we need her to be around for?
Body count.
Yeah, I guess so, but it was just weird that those two caught the stray like that. I don't know.
It was a shock value. Bang! I was like, whoa! All right.
Which is fine. It seemed like they set something up there and then didn't pay it off. Which, whatever, it happens.
I was like, I kept looking away because I thought something gross was about to happen. But when she sits down on the couch, when the girlfriend sits, I don't remember what the character's name was. Liv. When Liv sits down on the couch with Mindy, and her eyes are closed. She closes her, but she has this white eye.
Yeah, I was really confused.
And I was like, oh my god, was she stabbed through the eye and is she about to turn her face and be dead? But then I was like, nope, this is just a weird makeup thing. And now I'm kind of curious, similar to the whole West scene where they kept doing the door, the shtick where clearly the killer's back there. Was that a thing? Was that intentionally done too to look funky, to make you uncomfortable?
Well, she had a particular look the whole movie, but it was so odd. I was like, oh, was it like this the whole movie?
Yeah,
I haven't noticed it. We've zoomed in on her face a few times, and I don't remember seeing anything like this. So my first thought too was oh god, did she get stabbed? Something like that. I was also wondering, maybe was this the Batman type of situation where he wears the black eyeshadow to transition the mask? I was wondering if that was going to be the reveal that she was a killer because she had some sort of thing either to get the mask to stick to her face or because it just seemed so out of place out of nowhere.
Yeah, to focus for a moment on Sydney and Gail arriving. Okay, first off, when they have the tracker on and they find out where the house that they stopped at, and they go, oh no, and they call and they say that you're in Stubacher's house. I was like, oh, come on. That was ridiculous. But when they arrive at the house and the girl, one of the killers, is coming outside, she's like, "Please, please help!" And they're both looking at her. Trap.
I mean, it was pretty damn obvious, like how like put on it was, and obviously we already know she'd shown her true colors at that point. But
I just love that she's not pulling the wool over their eyes.
Well, and the best part about it was, okay, I'm done with this, and she just pulls up and shoots.
That was great, but then only to be followed by Sydney walking through the house and just shooting blindly at doors. And Kim was like,
hitting.
What are you doing? There's nothing
hitting Richie
in the house. Yeah, which was great. That it was him. But still, oh my god, that was so silly. When she
also
cracks, go on.
Oh, I was gonna say on the whole thing about it being Stumacher's house, and I keep wanting to call him like Schumacher or something like that. But the fact that it was Stumacher's house, I actually thought that was kind of a clever reveal, because if you remember when they show up to the house, there's a party going on, it's dark, all the lights are out inside, this and that, and then they turn all the lights on. It's like, oh shit, it is that house.
Yeah. Did you like the like move the camera around? It's cool.
Although I will say it was very obviously not the original house and a set recreation, because the whole street and area and house does not look right.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it's clearly they made it in the image of that house, but like that was a real house that they just happened to shoot the movie in the original one. Whereas this one, they're like, okay, we got to recreate this house, guys. Let's do our best. So like
when they break the hand sanitizer over her face, I was like, oh, cool, they're gonna set her on fire.
Oh, see, it's funny. I actually kind of wondered if that was a nod to the fact that they made this movie during the pandemic and everyone just has like. So it's going to become one of those things where like hand sanitizer is like going to be a thing that's just in movies and shows. Yeah. Even if you're not like, hey, someone's sick or got COVID or whatever, and but it's just like it's a tacit. I just assumed it was like a tacit like nod to the fact that like our paradigm has shifted in the last couple of years. And also, it was just I thought it was just kind of a funny aside where like they smash overhead and she's like, oh. Hand sanitizer. Yeah. It's just like I laughed when she said it, and they go through the whole scene, and then when she hits the thing, I was like, oh god, who's gonna get burned? I wonder if it's gonna play into the fact that there was like a hand-to-hand struggle, and someone was gonna lean on it and get burned, and that was gonna be what the upper hand moment. But to set it up where she gets ignited was pretty great. I enjoyed that.
I just one of the things that like was driving me crazy when Sydney and Gail both have the upper hand on her, and then she like recedes into like, I'm just a stupid kid, I didn't know what I was doing, and like just long enough that she can get the upper hand again, and then when she loses it again, she goes into the exact same act. I'm like, come on.
It was like the scene from Pineapple Express when they're fighting Danny McBride. Time out. Time back in.
Oh man.
I have to say, I'm all for the suspension of disbelief in general with horror movies and all, but all along I kind of assumed it was Chad or Richie because there were some feats of strength by the killer, and it turned out that Richie is one of the two. But it was what was the? Why do I keep forgetting the name of the friend? What was the friend's name?
Amber.
Amber. Amber is the one who ends up killing Duke.
Right, lifts him off the ground with
with two knives. I'm like, and some of the other things too, where like I'm sure you got to play a game figuring out who was who, and some of that can be figured out by the context of the movie. Like when Richie gets slashed, clearly it's Amber inside the thing, and it was kind of a cool, quiet thing. Remember, there was the whole thing how it unravels the original one when Stu and Billy decide, okay, we have to hurt each other to make it look like we got attacked to try and get away with the perfect crime, and they get carried away, right? And that's what ends up leading to both their deaths, as well as allowing Cindy to get the upper hand and win. In this case, I thought that it was kind of cool. They kind of did it tacitly, quietly before Richie is going to take a slash to make it look like it couldn't possibly be like him. It's the perfect crime, right? But yeah, no, there's just some feats of strength that would seem to be at times when Amber has to be the one. And it's like, how? Like, some of what she does, because she's clearly got to be the one in the first scene, right? Because you would think that Richie would have to have been with... Remember, he gives the alibi for Sam, so he would have had to have been there. So clearly it had to have been Amber. Remember, she sends the video to Tara. It's clearly not live. It's a pre-recorded video of herself that Richie had taken to set that up. So it's got to be Amber. She's using her own phone. The whole clone phone thing, it's easy for her to clone her own phone.
Right.
But some of the stuff that goes on in that scene is like, there's no way.
Yeah. So that's that is a funny thing. Like you have to like not look too far into it, but basically like you have to kind of brush everything off because it is a joke. The whole thing is a joke. But yeah, I completely I get you on that, especially when you look at it in hindsight.
I will say, kudos to David Arquette / Dewey for getting such tremendously memorable death with the the front and back knife impaling and like double seppuku.
Yeah.
Like holy shit!
I like when she and then like this was an honor, which plays into the whole thing at the end, like
the legacy characters,
the legacy characters, and then also like they're such big fans of the material. That whole thing, which we were joking before we actually got to this movie section because we were referencing The Last Jedi about like people becoming completely psycho and going to that length.
Considering how on the nose they were at the beginning, specifically calling up Rian Johnson and the Star Wars movies,
yes,
and talking about how people get mad, and it's toxic, and this and the other thing, but then the callback later when Richie goes, "How can love be toxic?" and I'm like, "Okay, well done." You brought me back around.
Oh man, it's so stupid. Yeah, it really is. Like it was. Oh, you know what? The other another subtle thing, like the movie, it's smart, right? They did some pretty for what they're trying to do to pull it off the way that they did it. Like there are some really great, good job there moments within the movie.
Some of it was too cheesy and corny on the nose, but some of it was legitimately clever and well done.
But like I like the idea, like this whole movie is a joke, and the commentary. It's a joke. It's the spoof of the slasher film, but it's also a commentary on all movies being recreated and sequel and stuff like that. And like just the early on, it's like one of the I think it was Tara's character is like, no, I like these horror movies because they're not just a horror movie. They have something to say, and like they have something to say here too. And they're doing it well, and they're doing it by doing the thing. They just keep spoofing on there. How many things are we spoofing on at once?
What's wrong with elevated horror? I did like as it's not going to hold up with like it's just been revoked or I'll have what she's having or all that sort of stuff, but I still prefer the Babadook was kind of a hilarious punchline at the end of the catchphrase moment.
Yeah, catchphrase. Yeah, very silly. I really did love. Well, one, I like when they meet with Dewey in the beginning, earlier on in the movie, and he's like, "Sounds like we can end it right now. Look at the love interest," and he points to him, and then at the end, the callback to it, where he's like, "Dude had me right away."
Yeah,
that was great. Oh man, and like how they're clearly so psychotic and obsessed with the stab movies. And their anger towards them led them to kill. It just, oh my god, there's so much. There are layers to it, which is just really funny. That because it's a movie that doesn't deserve layers, yet it has it.
And that was a pretty great self-referential burn there too. No one's watched the last several stabs. Now we're going to make one that people are actually going to want to watch because it's good. It's like okay.
Yeah. I was trying to remember. I know you didn't see them, but like I was like. Each of the I can't remember who the killers in 3 and 4 were because I'm pretty sure. Well, in 1 we know it was Billy Loomis and Stu, but in 2 I feel like it was Billy's mom, but I don't remember if there was another one.
Well, it was always killer. 2, right? Although I did wonder whether they were going to break the trend and make it 3 this one.
I was definitely thinking that was like what their twist was going to be,
especially considering. Like, before Richie said it might be your sister, I had already started to wonder because they made the whole thing about, we had to get them to this house. And I was like, oh, she did this with the friend. And I just assumed it was getting back at Sam because she had figured out the Billy Loomis thing well beforehand. And she was going to punish her for making her own father leave the equation, right? And I was going to wonder if did the friend have like a crush on her type of thing, and the two of them just had to do it together, and then that's going to be the falling out where she's like, no, you're just my friend, you're helping me do this thing. I'm not actually in love with you, and that's how the two of them end up. And I was like, and then I was like, okay, actually, it would be perfect. When I started to wonder about Richie too, I was like, oh, if it was the 3 of them, that would be the one that no one saw coming because we're used to it being 2. It's always 2. It's been mentioned a few times. oh no,
Yeah.
this is how you make a sequel that people care about. You do something different. You can't just do the exact same thing again, and it's 3 this time, you know?
Well, just looking up, so the killers, there were 3 killers in Scream 2. The killers were Derek, Haley, and Debbie.
Oh, I have no idea. I never saw it, so.
Oh, wait. What's weird is it says Derek, and then in parentheses it says Jerry O'Connell. Haley, no parentheses, and then Debbie, and then in parentheses it's another character's name. So I don't know if this is how accurate this one is. And then in Scream 3, it was I think they're filming a stab movie, and the killer is like the director of the movie. And
that's super meta. We're making a movie inside of this movie about the movie, and the murders are going to happen on the set of the movie.
Yeah, Roman Bridger is the main antagonist of Scream 3 and the 5th revealed Ghostface killer overall. He is a 29-year-old music video director who landed the job of a fictional trilogy concluding film Stab 3 Return to Woodsboro, based on the true events of the 1996 Woodsboro and 1998 Windsor College murders. So yeah,
is there something there too about being the music video director that becomes a director? Because that has been that's not really a thing as much as often now, but like it was a big thing back in the past.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like Michael Bay was a movie a music video director for a long time, right before.
Right.
He's not the only one. I was just hearing someone talk about it recently with another director too.
So I was just trying to figure out who was the killer in Scream 4. It was Sydney's cousin. And Charlie Walker as her accomplice. So she had an accomplice. Okay, so now I'm kind of curious. So Scream 1, 2 killers. Scream 2, 3 killers. Scream 3, 1 killer. Scream 4, 2 killers.
I was kind of hoping it was going to be like an escalating situation. By like Scream 6, it was like 18.
Scream 6 is only 1 death because the whole friend group is the killer.
Yeah, I was basically just Murder on the Orient Express, right? Scream on the Orient Express.
What if it's what if in 6 it's the twins? They're like, well, we're so ingrained in this, we know how to do it right.
Plus, we're getting our revenge because it was done to us.
Yeah.
What did you think about Psychotic Vision Billy with the DH?
That was ridiculous to see him DH like that because it just looks so wrong. It's just not. It is not. They don't have that Marvel Disney budget, so just maybe don't do it.
I love how a bloody brink of death Billy gets to have a slight redemption arc because he's guiding his daughter,
right,
to not die in the same way that he perpetrated murder for.
Surely, in the next one, those cracks of that serial killer blood come through, and it's actually going to be Sam. That's the killer.
Now that's the perfect crime. Everyone thought it was me the last time, and it wasn't, but this time it is.
You pushed me over the edge. Oh man, what a goofy movie. Also, the other thing that was bothering me, like going into the movie, I was annoyed already because it was called Just Scream, and I was like so mad about it until they made a joke about it, and I was like, "You bastards!" Well, you gotta call it. We're just gonna call it Scream because it's not a sequel and it's not a reboot. It's just too much. So, what's the next one called, though? That's gonna be the question. It's probably just gonna be Scream 6.
I think we go with what I said the other day: The Scream.
The Scream.
And the whole thing takes place inside of that painting.
It's just Scream backwards. It's gonna be like Scream : Ghostface.
No, they've always gone with the numbers.
He's back.
Scream : Ghostface : he's back.
Yes. Are we using these right? Oh man, fun times. I mean, I'm down. We're definitely gonna watch the next one. I liked at the end they did the 4 Wes. That was cool.
Yeah,
it was nice touch. But,
I think I'm down to skip the next several and try this again 10 years from now.
All right, I like that. Cool, man. Anything else on this one?
No, it was a movie.
It was indeed. Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix in the Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixinthesix@thespintune.com. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Bielsi.
Thanks for coming out.